Roxana brought her palms together, her fingertips entwined with a rosary, and bowed her head in silent prayer. Merciful God, please bless my homeland. Bless my father. Bless the new family I am about to welcome. May God bestow blessings upon me and my family. Priestess, holding a cross. May love and peace fill the princess's future. I will pray for this. Roxana raised her head, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly. Thank you for everything you have done. Sunlight pierced through the clouds, illuminating the temple's spire. Roxana stepped out of the grand doors, her skirt billowing in the wind. When she entered the temple, it still carried a chill, but now the scent of spring was in the air. At this time last year, she was still busy preparing for the wedding. Time flew by so fast. A white butterfly landed on her fingertip. Roxana watched its fluttering wings with a calm gaze. Her high heels clicked across the stone bricks. The month-long prayer had finally ended, leaving only the wedding. According to the continent's customs, noble women must pray at the great temple for a month before marriage. In the spring of my 20th year, the marriage contract had long been settled. I am to marry the crown prince of the Gania kingdom. The wedding will be held in my homeland, the Kanta kingdom, followed by a week-long celebration. I will leave here and head to Gania. I will no longer be the princess of Kanta, but the crown princess of Gania, Roxana. Carrying her leather suitcase. Although she had known since childhood that this day would come, it still felt surreal now that it was here. When she returns again, it will be a final farewell. A shout came from behind. Your Highness the Princess. Roxana turned around. Lasha was panting heavily. As she ran over, sorry to keep you waiting. She took the suitcase. I hurried as fast as I could, but I was still late. Roxana said, it's all right. I just came out too. Lasha was in tears. You stayed here alone to pray. I was so worried. Roxana looked at her. Staying in a strange place for a whole month must have been hard for you. Lasha said, I was more worried about you. I heard the food at the Great Temple is terrible. Look at you. How much weight you've lost. Roxana thought of those bland vegetarian meals. Actually, it's fine once you get used to it. Lasha suddenly hoisted the suitcase. We can't dawdle anymore. Let's go. Everyone is waiting for you. Roxana looked at Lasha's back, smiled, and nodded gently. The carriage wheels rolled over the gravel in the forest, and the carriage shook violently. Lasha held onto the windowsill. You must miss your family very much. This is the first time you've been away from them for so long. Roxana leaned against the cushion. It's okay. We'll be there in 10 days. Although I cried secretly a few nights, don't tell my brothers. This feeling is strange. I always feel like it's the last time I'll see them. Lasha softly held Roxana's hand. Don't say that, Your Highness. Gania and Kana are not far apart, and there are trains. You can come back often. Your future husband, Lord Lucas, is a gentle and considerate man. If you miss home, he will surely allow you to come back and visit. Roxana lowered her head. Lucas, the man who is about to spend the rest of his life with me. He is slightly taller than me, with a gentle personality, and his appearance matches his hair color. Lucas is indeed charming, but I am not sure if I truly love him. Adelia stopped dancing, her skirt coming to a halt amidst the crowd. Did I mess up? Alice raised her wine glass, her red curls swaying under the light. You are so lucky, Your Highness the Princess, to have such a perfect fiancé. Roxana took the wine glass. Thank you, Alice. The evening breeze blew across the lake, rippling the shimmering water. Lucas has been my fiancé since we were young. One day, he will become my husband, and we will share our destiny. Lucas called out to Roxana from under the shadow of the trees. Roxana looked at him. He is the person I must love and the one I ought to love. Lucas lowered his head and lifted her chin with his fingertips. Is this our 5th time meeting? Roxana pondered. Novels say that when kissing a lover, the world should tremble and collapse. At this moment, Alice sat by the window, twirling a strand of hair around her finger. A lady should remain quiet. Your Highness taking the initiative would seem improper. Pretend to know nothing and let the man take the lead. He will handle everything. Lucas held the back of Adelia's neck, their lips pressing together, their breaths mingling. Roxana's fingertips trembled. The world didn't tremble or collapse, but it wasn't unpleasant. After experiencing all this, will I fall in love with Lucas? Does this kind of love really exist? The night grew darker. The guards stood by the carriage, holding their spears. Lasha laid out the bedding. Sitting in a carriage for 3 consecutive days must be exhausting. Just hold on a little longer, Your Highness the Princess. Roxana, lay down on the velvet. Thank you. As long as I see my father and brothers and explain everything clearly, the heaviness in my chest will disappear, right? I really want to see them soon. A scream tore through the night sky. Roxana sat up abruptly. What happened? The escort, Knight, drew his long sword and blocked the carriage door. It's an attack. The driver is dead. Take the princess away quickly. A knight leaped onto the carriage roof. The carriage jolted violently through the forest. Lasha huddled in the corner, trembling. Your Highness, we're being attacked. What should we do? Roxana lifted the curtain. Father sent elite knights to escort us. This is definitely not overprotection. The scenery outside the window was completely unfamiliar. Where are we going? Robert rode his horse close to the carriage window. Your Highness the Princess. Roxana asked, Robert, what happened? Is it monsters? Roxana gripped the reins tightly. Please stay calm. This is not monsters. Roxana froze in place. An arrow flew over, and Robert was struck. His body fell powerlessly. Lasha covered her mouth and shrank into the corner. Roxana muttered to herself, if it's not monsters, then what is it? Bandits? They couldn't possibly defeat the knights. Such precise archery must be premeditated. The driver was probably shot too. As long as the Knight Order is still here, no one can approach the carriage with a sword. Then who on earth is it who would target the Franz royal family? Neighboring countries would never dare to provoke a war during a time when monsters run rampant. Lasha's fingertips trembled. Your Highness, Lord Robert. Roxana comforted her. Pull yourself together. Listen to me. They don't plan to kill us immediately. They want to kidnap us. Resisting won't help us escape. Wait until the carriage stops. Do as they say, and don't try to protect me. We have no ability to defend ourselves. We must cooperate for now and wait for an opportunity. The driver is dead, so the person driving outside must be an insider they sent. After Robert fell, I haven't heard any sounds of fighting. The remaining knights are probably accomplices too. This conspiracy has been planned for a long time. If spies could infiltrate Kanta's royal elite knight order, the plan must have been set in motion at least several years ago. Father and my brothers, are they still safe? Roxana bit her fingertip, her breathing rapid. The horses neighed, their front hooves leaping into the air. The carriage crashed violently, and Roxana was thrown to one side. Lasha stepped forward to help her up. Your Highness, the carriage door latch sprang open. A masked man looked down into the carriage with cold eyes. Princess Roxana, Evelyn Franz of Kanta, come with us. Roxana slumped to the ground, and Lasha tightly shielded her. The carriage wheels rolled over gravel, bumping through the dense forest. How much time had passed? Unable to see the light, unable to distinguish day from night, not knowing where the carriage was heading, Roxana was blindfolded and huddled in the corner of the carriage. She grasped the hard, dry bread with both hands and swallowed it in large bites. The kidnapper lifted the carriage curtain and looked down at the curled-up Roxana. So a princess can't endure hunger either. You probably never thought you'd eat this kind of food, huh? Roxana swallowed the hard bread. Mockery was meaningless. Surviving was the top priority. She had to survive. Seeing her family again was her only hope. The black cloth slipped off. Roxana stood in the center of the main hall of the Kanta Royal Palace. The light pierced her pupils, and her hope was instantly shattered. Lucas sat on the high seat, resting his cheek on his hand, looking down at her. Roxana's body stiffened. Lucas, why is it? You? Alice, why are you sitting next to him? Where is Lasha? Where is Lasha? Lucas rested his chin on his hand and let out a light chuckle. Roxana, you always do this, overthinking everything, in all sorts of matters. You are too self-righteous. He stood up and walked down the steps. His leather boots stepped on the stone slabs, making a muffled sound. I hate that look of yours the most. It's truly disgusting. Roxana froze in place, watching the approaching figure. What does this mean? You were always the one running towards me, calling me your beautiful flower, weren't you? Lucas looked down at her. You were somewhat cute when you were little. I didn't expect that after growing up. You become so repulsive. Roxana's hands were tightly bound by ropes, her fingertips turning white from the strain. Where's my father? What about my mother and my family? Lucas let out a light chuckle. That's right, Roxana. You really should have asked about them first, instead of caring about your maid. A black-clad attendant walked over carrying a wooden box. Lucas's gaze was cold. Open it, and you will see the answer. The princess should also know. The fate of her family. The latch of the wooden box sprang open. Roxana's pupils contracted, her gaze freezing on the contents of the box. A broken gasp escaped her throat. A shrill, agonizing scream pierced through the grand hall. Her body kept falling, as if floating on the water's surface, wishing to be completely swallowed by this darkness and never wake up again. A call echoed in her ears. "Princess, wake up!" It was Lasha's voice. "Are you safe?" Memories began to flow backward. On the day I went to the great temple, what kind of expression did I show at the end? Was I smiling or crying? The figures of my family gradually blurred. Everything felt like a distant dream. If only I had known. It was the last time we'd meet. Roxana abruptly opened her eyes, tears slipping from the corners of her eyes. A broken gasp escaped her throat, and her body trembled violently. Lasha supported Roxana's shoulders. "Princess, you're finally awake. You've been unconscious for 2 days. What should we do? The news I heard from the servants last night. How should I tell you? If you knew, you would definitely be even more pained." Iron chains struck the stone wall, making a crisp sound. The jailer pushed open the heavy iron door. Alice walked in. The jailer grabbed Lasha. Lasha struggled. "Princess, you must pull yourself together. You absolutely cannot break down. You absolutely cannot lose." Roxana reached out for Lasha. Alice walked closer. "Our pitiful princess." Roxana raised her head. "Alice, what exactly is going on?" Alice covered her face and wept, her shoulders trembling slightly. "In a place like this, how much pain you must be in. My heart is breaking." Roxana stared at her. "Alice is my old friend. Perhaps she is pretending to assist Lucas, but is actually trying to help me escape." She lifted her pale face. "Alice, did Lucas kill all of them?" Alice covered her cheeks with a handkerchief. "Yes, princess. He killed everyone. Not a single one was spared. He even killed your nephews and nieces." Roxana slumped to the ground. "He didn't even spare the children? Why be so cruel? Even if it meant exile, at least spare those children." Through the gaps in her fingers, one of Alice's eyes showed, and the corners of her mouth curved up. She released the hands covering her face. "I was the one who told him to do it." Roxana froze in place, her breathing stopping, her gaze vacant. "Where are my family's bodies?" Alice asked. "Aren't you curious why I did this?" Roxana pleaded. "Please, tell me, where's my family?" Alice looked disgusted. "The princess is still so selfish and cold. A normal person would ask why first, instead of only caring about those bodies. To think I once treated you as a precious friend. How pathetic and pitiful." Roxana raised her head. "Why are you crying? I am the one who lost my family, lost my country, and was betrayed. On what grounds are you blaming me?" Alice clenched her handkerchief tightly, her knuckles turning white from the force. "You shouldn't have saved me back then. You shouldn't have pitied me. You should have let me die along with my family." She suddenly let out a soft roar. "Just abandoning me like that. Roxana, if you had done that back then, your family wouldn't have died, let alone be thrown into that dry well." The white palace sparkled under the sunlight. The guards reported that the envoy from the Gania kingdom had arrived. The envoy looked displeased. "To think no one came out immediately to welcome me." Two maids whispered to each other. "They say he's an envoy from the Gania kingdom, but his attitude is so arrogant." The envoy raised the parchment scroll in his hand. "Grand Duke of Torkon, receive the edict. This is the imperial edict of King Joseph IV of Gania." The man on the throne merely propped up his cheek. "An imperial edict?" He let out a light chuckle. As the saying goes, live with a cat long enough, and a mouse will think it's a cat too. This phrase suits you perfectly. He is Floyd Carlotleton, the Grand Duke of the Torkon Principality. The envoy clenched his teeth, his beard trembling violently with anger. "How dare you be so insolent?" Floyd raised his palm, and flames burst from his fingertips. Out of thin air, the fire snake lashed out like a long whip, instantly wrapping around the envoy's neck. The envoy panicked and cried out for help. Floyd watched the residual embers in his palm. "Mine was pretty good this time, wasn't it?" The attendant behind him bowed. "Your precision has indeed improved." The envoy rolled on the ground, his throat letting out scorched, hoarse cries. "Stop!" The silver-haired knight said. "Lord, he is the envoy from the Gania kingdom. We can't let him go back as a corpse." Floyd extinguished the flame on his fingertips. "Oops." The envoy scrambled up in a wretched state, leaving black scorch marks on his neck, panting heavily. Floyd leaned against the backrest. "So, Count Connie, tell me what you brought." Count Connie tremblingly unrolled the scroll. Floyd pondered. "The Kanta kingdom is now under Gania's possession. They want me to subjugate the nearby monsters. 7 months ago, Gania's crown prince Lucas raised an army and massacred the entire family of Khan's king Viction IV. Lucas, holding a heavy sword, stood amidst the sea of fire, blood dripping from the blade, with a shattered crown at his feet. Rumor even has it that the missing princess has also perished. Floyd looked down at the man on the ground. Count Connie, what do you think of this imperial edict? Count Connie hunched his shoulders. This, compared to an edict, it's more like a request. Floyd's eyes turned cold. Didn't you just say it was an imperial edict? Could it be that my ears have a problem? Count Connie was at a loss for words. I was just. Floyd kicked out, and Count Connie crashed heavily onto the stone floor with a muffled groan. Floyd said, "Your master is truly shameless. Does he think this kind of cheap trick will work on me?" He grabbed the other man's collar and hoisted him up into the air. "Go back and tell him, if he wants my territory, let him come in person and bring his head to take it. Torkan does not belong to the Gania kingdom, and I am no longer a lapdog of the ruined royal family." Count Connie's facial muscles twitched. Yes, Floyd let go. "Get lost." Count Conti scrambled and stumbled out of the main hall, his retreating figure looking utterly miserable. Floyd chuckled softly, covering his face. "Look at that guy. Doesn't he look like a mouse with its tail on fire?" The silver-haired knight stood aside. "Lord, you went too far." Floyd lowered his hand, the smile fading from the corners of his mouth. "I indeed should have gone a little further. That old fox in Gania still wants to toy with me like a cat in his lap. If I don't go too far, how can I suppress this urge? I want to snap that woman's neck right now." The silver-haired knight asked, "Lord, where are you going?" Floyd picked up his clothes. "To get a drink. I'm in a terrible mood." The silver-haired knight followed behind. "Shall I open a bottle of imported red wine?" Floyd ruffled his hair. "I just want to drink beer today." The terrace was bathed in sunlight, and the sound of ocean waves rose and fell in the distance. For people sat around a round table. Floyd tilted his head back and downed the ice-cold beer, the liquid sliding down his throat. The others were conversing. "The fate of the Franz royal family is truly tragic." Another person retorted, "The fall of a royal family is a common occurrence. Since they took the throne, they should have been prepared to fall." A black-haired man swirled his wine glass. "But that madman Lucas really went too far. He didn't even spare the children." A light-haired man raised his glass. "That's their fate. Who asked them to be born with royal blood? Who among us hasn't dodged a few assassinations when we were young? This is your destiny, my boy." The black-haired young man pushed away the other's extended finger. "You always manage to out-argue me." Floyd's gaze grew profound. The Franz kingdom. That was a place he briefly stayed during his youthful wandering days before leaving the Gania kingdom. The people of the bourgeois palace only showed contempt and humiliated my existence. Floyd clenched his teeth, his nails digging into his palms. But in the eyed palace of the Franz royal family, everyone was friendly. Even if their eyes carried pity, it was still filled with light. That blonde little princess I saw deep within the palace. What was her name again? Leather Boots stepped onto the grass, splashing fine water droplets. Floyd, wearing a black cloak, stood in the rain, looking towards the blonde girl holding a paper umbrella deep in the garden. A soft call, Lottie. Lottie turned her face, her pearl hair, accessories shimmering faintly even in the rain, her gaze clear. That princess, who was as bright as the moon even on a rainy day. Floyd's gaze fixed on her. The people of the Franz royal family indeed called her that. A frog was held high, its limbs paddling in the air. Lottie hid under the lace umbrella, her body shrinking back. "I hate it." Petria leaned in front of the girl. "Really? This frog looks like it really likes you." Lottie tightly shut her eyes and shook her head vigorously. "I hate it." The blonde girl held the umbrella and stepped closer. "If you look closely, it's actually quite cute." Lottie ran in the rain, her leather shoes crushing the puddles, splashing a string of water droplets. She stopped in her tracks. "Are you going home?" Floyd lowered his eyelids. "Yes." Lottie handed the umbrella to him. "Don't get sick." Floyd rested his chin on his hand, his thoughts pulling back from the memories. A person walked onto the terrace. "Lord." Floyd turned his head. "Kilshani. Want a drink?" Kilshani stood still. "No, thank you." A report came from the port. "There is a ship preparing to head to the archipelago. It's carrying merchants, but they seem to be slave traders." Floyd slammed his hand on the table, the wine glasses shaking from the impact. "These lunatics. See, monsters churned in the deep sea, making the sea routes extremely dangerous. Merchants gathered in the safe waters of Torkan. The scales, tipped in a merchant's hands, gold coins rubbing against their fingertips. But among these traders, slave traders were absolutely not allowed to step foot on this land. Torkan is the only territory on the continent that strictly prohibits the slave trade. White sails crowded the port, ships weaving through the azure sea. Kilshani held onto the saddle, his gaze sweeping across the noisy pier. They always managed to find loopholes and sneak into other countries. Floyd asked, "How big is the scale?" Kilshani answered, "Not many people, but it is said that there's a big shot among them." Floyd snorted coldly. "A big shot? Gentlemen? Ridiculous." He strode towards the pier. Kilshani added, "The suspects have already boarded the ship." Floyd was puzzled. "Why didn't you stop them?" Kilshani explained, "We checked the boxes, and they only contained ordinary herbs. The boxes stamped with the crest of the archipelago's royal family have protective spells on them, so we couldn't force an inspection." Floyd stopped in his tracks. "What's the basis for suspecting they are slave traders?" Kilshani raised his head. Jack from the fish market recognized that man. Jack used to be a slave. That man often frequented the Count's mansion, responsible for transporting slaves. Jack saw back then. The light-haired man said, "If it's the property of the archipelago's royal family, we can't just touch it casually. One misstep, and it could escalate into a diplomatic incident." Floyd pondered. He is right. If there are no slaves inside, it might even trigger a war. But the archipelago is indeed the place where the slave trade is the most rampant. Floyd's gaze was cold. "Open all of them." Everyone looked worried. "Lord, if the archipelago pursues this matter," Floyd said, "I will personally go and apologize." He suddenly waved his hand. "Open them. It is a curse. Not only did my family die tragic deaths, but they were also thrown into a deep well. Even if the world collapses and is destroyed, their souls will never find peace. My family will never be able to enter the land of rest. They can only wander in the deep well, neither alive nor dead." Roxana's neck was branded with a mark. Alice knelt on the ground, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I am sorry, princess. I know you treated me very well, cherishing me like family. But what could I do? What could I possibly do?" She leaned close to Roxana's ear, her voice low. "I hope that when you die, you will never smell the fragrance of Adelia flowers. That is my wish." Alice raised her head, tear stains on her face. "But I will still let you live. If you can meet a good master, he will surely put you in an Adelia coffin. This is my last gift to you as a friend." Roxana lay in the darkness. She said she would sell me at a high price to King Haben. That king is obsessed with beauty and told me to try to seduce him. Perhaps he would make me his mistress. My family is already gone. Whether I am reduced to a slave or sold elsewhere, what difference does it make? The cargo ship deck was in chaos. Floyd led his men to overturn the wooden boxes. The slave traders struggled. "What are you doing? You can't do this. We have a legal permit." Roxana heard the commotion above her head. "It's so noisy. Have monsters appeared? Being killed by monsters and thrown into the sea now would be fine. That way, my soul could wander around. Maybe, if I'm lucky, I could see my family." The light-haired man said, "Found them. They are slaves." The black-haired attendant pried open a wooden plank. "Lord, there are people in this box too. Caught them red-handed." Floyd stood in the shadows. "Arrest these bastards." Immediately, Roxana listened carefully. It's a human voice, not a monster. The only place on this continent that prohibits the slave trade is Torkan. And the Lord of Torkan is that monster-annihilating red fox Floyd Carlot-Lautern. The wooden barrel was suddenly overturned. Floyd's pupils contracted sharply. Roxana was curled up inside the barrel, her wrists tightly bound by thick ropes. Her hair scattered over her shoulders. Floyd's movements froze in midair. Kilshani took a step forward, covering his mouth and nose. "Lord," Floyd's brows furrowed deeply. "The Princess of Kanta, why is she here?" Floyd froze in place, unable to believe it. Deep within those pupils, those eyes with a hint of green, a woman reduced to such a state. Is she really the Princess of Kanta, Roxana? Floyd's gaze moved downwards, landing on the skin of the back of her neck. A sunflower brand was glaringly imprinted there, the symbol of a slave. Floyd clenched his teeth. Killing all her family wasn't enough. They even turned the princess into a slave. Various emotions clashed in his veins, ultimately turning into an unspeakable heaviness. At this moment, the world seemed to fall into a dead silence. Flames instantly engulfed his entire body, fire snakes wildly licking the narrow cabin. Screams tore through the air. The cursed fire lost control once again. Everything was going to be reduced to ashes. At this rate, the princess would die. Floyd let out. A roar. Please stop. Damn it. He clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white from excessive force. Losing her country and being reduced to a slave wasn't enough. Now, even her life was going to be taken away by this flame. Because of me, the princess is going to die here. Roxana raised her face in the firelight. Flowers, please allow it. Only in this way can my restless soul find peace. Perhaps, if I am lucky, I can see my family again. She slowly closed her eyes, her body tilted backward. Floyd looked around. This gentle breeze, where is it blowing from? The giant ship docked at the port, its mast piercing the clear sky. Floyd picked Roxana up in his arms and strode out of the cabin. The body in his arms was as light as deadwood. She was still breathing, thank goodness. She was too thin, like a corpse. Roxana kept her eyes tightly closed, her face deadly pale. The slave brand on the back of her neck was exceptionally glaring under the sunlight. A blonde-haired man followed closely behind. My lord, my cloak. Floyd's face was gloomy. Was she praying for the flower of Adelia just now? Do I look like the kind of demon who wouldn't even bestow a single flower? He walked straight towards the carriage. I'm heading back first. I'll leave the rest for you to handle. The blonde-haired man bowed, and saluted. Yes, my lord. The soldiers on the pier murmured in discussion. Who is that woman the lord is carrying? A black-haired man said, that is the princess of Kanta. The blonde-haired man snorted softly. Do you think I don't know that? The black-haired man said, what I mean is, the lord seems to have recognized her. The blonde-haired man sneered. I don't think so. Use your brain a little. He is someone who can't even remember the maids he sees every day, yet the moment he saw that woman, he knew she was a princess. The black-haired man hesitated for a moment. After all, she is from a foreign royal. Family. Isn't it obvious? The blonde-haired man recalled that King Enielta had sent his daughter over many times, attempting to arrange a marriage with him. But every time he saw that princess, he couldn't remember who she was. Yet just now, he recognized her at a glance. Was it the princess of Kanta? Another man walked over. The princess of Kanta? Do you mean Roxana? The blonde-haired man let out a sigh of relief. You scared me to death, Hecton. You smell terrible. Hecton looked bewildered. So what did I miss? The blonde-haired man explained. You should have shown up when we called. The lord has been looking for you. The black-haired man explained. It seems the princess was locked in a slave cargo crate. The lord took her away. Hecton froze, his hands suspended in midair. You really did that? The black-haired man nodded. And what's even stranger is that the lord lost control just now. Hecton looked around the deck. No wonder it smells like burning everywhere. The black-haired man looked grave, but that woman stood in front of him and was completely unharmed. Hecton lowered his eyes. I really can't believe the princess of Kana is still alive. If the French bloodline were severed, the people of Kanta would still be immersed in mourning today. The blonde-haired man said, going from royalty to a slave, being alive is no different from being dead. She has already been branded. What's the point of living? The black-haired man frowned. Even if you're my brother, those words that are too cold-blooded. The blonde-haired man turned his head. Do you remember Marquis Patlin of the Bionic Kingdom? He once had a daughter he treasured like a jewel. But when she was branded with a slave mark, he killed her with his own hands. The black-haired man looked thoughtful. That was 2 years ago, right? A lady who was kidnapped by bandits. And then rescued. The blonde-haired man's eyes darkened. Exactly. Even if the Marquis wanted to take her home, he couldn't forgive the brand on her back and ultimately ended his daughter's life. Roxana has no family left. No one will seek revenge for her. If Gania finds out she is still alive, they will never sit by and do nothing. Perhaps dying along with her family would have been better for her. Hecton swung his hand and struck hard. The blonde-haired man staggered backward from the blow. What are you doing? Are you trying to kill me? Hecton's face was gloomy. Ryan, you really are good at saying such vicious things. The blonde-haired man roared. Stop calling me Ryan. In her memory, a young boy smiled brightly. Sister, even if you get married, I will visit you often. If Crown Prince Lucas bullies you, I will teach him a lesson for you. Roxana said, thank you, my lovely little brother. Lanyin, you don't know how happy your birth made me. I once swore to be a gentle sister who loves and protects you. I have promised in my heart countless times. A voice echoed. Why are you the only one who survived? Roxana's pupils trembled. Lanyin stood in the shadows, his collar soaked in blood. When I died, why were you still alive? Roxana remembered. Yes, the whole family died, and only I survived. When they fell under the cold blades, I knew absolutely nothing. At that time, I was only praying for my own happiness. Roxana woke up from the dream with a start, gasping for air. Above her was an unfamiliar chandelier. Where is this? Roxana sat up. Kilshan walked towards the window. You're awake. Do you feel unwell anywhere? I am Kilshan, a knight and doctor loyal to Grand Duke Latern. Roxana froze in place. Grand Duke Latern? Kilshan introduced. This is the Lily Palace within the Grand Duke's estate of the Grand Duchy of Torkon. I work part-time as a doctor here. Roxana lowered her head, kneading the corner of her clothes. I see. I thought I was already not dead. Kilshan stood up. That's right. Everyone thought you were dead at the time. After all, no one can survive in the Grand Duke's flames. But you are a miracle. You don't even have a single scratch on you. Roxana raised her head. Why? Why didn't you let me die then? Kilshan was stunned. What? It's best you ask the Grand Duke yourself about this. He ordered me to notify him when you woke up. Princess. Roxana lowered her eyes. I am no longer a princess. Kilshan bowed slightly. Then you can explain that directly to the Grand Duke later. Excuse me. The heavy door closed, and the latch clicked crisply. Roxana looked around the luxurious bedroom. The crystal chandelier refracted a glaring light. It was so beautiful here, just like my former room. This illusion is suffocating. It's as if I'm still the princess of Kanta. The country has already fallen. I have lost everything. I abandoned my family and crawled out of that cold, dark, deep well all by myself. Tears slid down the corners of her eyes. How could I still be a princess? I am the sole survivor. Mom, Dad, I want to die too. Brother Lan Yin, I want to be with you. If I want to die, I can die right now. But what if someone pities me and grants me the flower of Adelia, so that even after death, that I cannot reunite with my family? In her illusion, her whole family stood in the light. Roxana reached out into the void, but only touched the cold air. Heavy footsteps approached from afar. The door was pushed open. Floyd walked in. Princess, how are you feeling? Roxana stared at him. The red line of the battlefield truly lives up to his name. I only have one wish. Only this man, the master of this duchy, can fulfill it. Floyd spoke. Kilshan said you haven't eaten for a long time. Rather than talking, you probably want to eat right now. What do you want to eat? Just say the word. Roxana clutched the quilt tightly, her knuckles turning white from the force. If he is this merciful, even to a slave, perhaps he really can satisfy my wish. Roxana turned over and got out of bed, stepping barefoot on the carpet. Her body swayed violently. Floyd reached out and steadied her shoulders. Don't force yourself. You can't even walk steadily right now. Roxana took the opportunity to kneel on the ground. I am merely a lowly person who has lost the blessing of the gods. Please allow me to speak. Floyd looked down at the woman at his feet. She was even thinner than he expected, as if she would shatter at any moment. He slowly spoke. I permit it. Speak, princess. Roxana raised her head. As long as you give the order, I am willing to do anything. Please, you must grant me this request. Floyd's gaze turned cold. So it's for revenge, after all? You said anything. To what extent can you go? Roxanne knelt on the ground. If you order me to stand on the front lines of the battlefield, I will become your shield. If you order me to be the sword that guards your back, I will become a sharp blade that fears no death. Floyd let out a sneer. I already have enough shields, and they are all stronger than you. As for swords willing to lay down their lives for me, I have plenty of those too. Roxana was silent for a moment. If you order me to become a seductress in bed, I will do that as well. Floyd held his forehead. I see. Protecting me on the battlefield and taking care of me at night. This deal sounds pretty good. He paused for a moment. Then what do you want, princess? Roxana's eyes were hollow. If I live like that and still end up dying, please do not put my corpse into the coffin of Adelia. Just throw it away. If you throw me into the sea, please tie a stone to me so that no one can find me. If you bury me in the dirt, please bury me deep enough. Floyd frowned slightly. What? Do you know the consequences of not entering the coffin of Adelia? Roxana nodded. I know dark magic will erode the corpse, turning people into undead to resurrect. If it really comes to that, you can hack me to pieces, tear me apart, and feed me to the wild beasts. Floyd said, even the barbarians who do not believe in the gods wear wooden tags carved with the flower of Adelia. Recently, dark magic has been running rampant. Out of 10 dead, 7 will turn into undead. You are even willing to sell your body just to avoid entering that coffin, and not for revenge? Roxana lowered her eyes. My parents and siblings are all gone. What meaning does revenge? That still hold for me? Floyd took a step closer. At least you would feel the satisfaction of making those bastards kneel at your feet, suffering endless mockery. Roxana remained expressionless. Your Grace, I only want my corpse to be casually thrown away, disappearing without a trace. Not entering the coffin of Adelia is a fate more shameful than death. Facing this man who knows nothing, I cannot confess the truth. Floyd, turn around. I'm not kind enough to casually throw away a princess's corpse. If you really want to die, then jump into the sea yourself. Don't come begging me. Roxana reached out and grabbed his sleeve. If I really do that, and my corpse happens to be found, could you please give the order not to cover me with even a single wooden plank of Adelia? Floyd looked down at her from above. It seems the princess wants to turn me into a truly cruel and despicable man. Roxana said, a long time ago, when you had nowhere to go and were wandering around, I heard you once took refuge in our royal palace. Please remember the kindness from that time. Floyd leaned down, his fingers pinching Roxana's chin. It seems the princess doesn't remember me at all. I have no intention of repaying a favor that even the person involved doesn't remember. I am not that generous, but I'm also not that cruel, and I certainly don't plan to throw you into a wilderness without flowers. So, princess, in this comfortable and luxurious palace, you will eat well, sleep well, and live well. That is all I can do for you. Roxana's pupils trembled, her breath catching in her throat. Floyd, Carlot Lanterne, a Torcon supremacist, the heir of Lanterne, known as the Red Tiger that slays magical beasts. He has never cast a glance at a woman, whether it be a noble lady or a maid in charge of his daily life. He refused to let any woman enter his bedroom. Rumors said he preferred men to satisfy him, mocking his reputation. Although I am now just a servant of the Grand Duke's estate, I know the truth. A long time ago, I was a guard knight responsible for protecting Floyd's mother. After losing his mother in that tragedy, he began to loathe all women. Even when he reached marriageable age, he still struggled in pain. I have always watched all of this. Last night, for the first time, Floyd held a woman in his arms. He slowly spoke. The princess will stay in the Lily Palace. Go prepare her attendants. The butler lowered his head. Yes, your highness. I never thought he would bring back the protagonist of a tragedy. This is indeed an unexpected situation. Perhaps because I also have a child of similar age. Looking at what that princess has been through fills my heart with pity. It was a day that made one feel sorrowful. The next morning, the butler stood in front of the Lily Palace. Accompanying him were Marquis Janil Kessedin, who had received the orders, and Minister Countess Eladrin Sills. Ultimately, Petria was chosen to serve Roxanne. They should have chosen a maid from a prestigious family to show respect to the Grand Duke's wishes. But the rumors of the distressed princess had long spread throughout the court. The maids gathered in the corridors, whispering. No one wanted to serve a royal whose status had plummeted. Even though slavery had been abolished, maids from noble families avoided it like the plague. Petria stepped forward, her shoulders slightly slanted, and walked across the marble floor. Amidst the cold stares and evasions, she walked towards the Lily Palace. What kind of person would the princess be? I've never seen a member of the royal family before. It's really something to look forward to. Although I'm just a woodcutter's daughter, I'm the smartest maid in the estate. I must do my best to help the princess. Petria stopped in front of the carved grand doors. No matter what others say about the princess, she is still a princess. Since she is someone the Grand Duke personally brought back, I must fulfill my duties. Floyd's brows were tightly knitted. Enough, your highness. Stop here. I clearly swore to protect her safety, yet her only wish is a death without peace. I really want to yell at her to wake up, but now is not the time. He closed his eyes tightly. My mood is terrible right now. I'll take my leave first. The doors opened. Petria froze outside the door. Their eyes met. Floyd looked down at her. Serve Roxana with the utmost sincerity. Ensure she lacks nothing. His tone was low and deep. Lay carpets on every path she walks. Personally select every piece of fruit she eats. Only the best. After speaking, he flicked his sleeves and left. Petria bowed deeply until his footsteps disappeared at the end of the corridor. From inside the room came intermittent, sobbing. Petria leaned close to the crack of the door. What exactly happened to make her cry like that? She pushed open the heavy door. Roxana was slumped in the center of the carpet, her shoulders trembling violently. Petria held her breath. She is so beautiful. She leaned down. Greetings, your highness the princess. I am Petria, the maid assigned to serve you. Your body hasn't recovered yet. You must rest. I will go tell the kitchen to prepare some food. If there is anything you want to eat, please tell me. Roxana lowered her eyes. I am not a princess. Petria stood frozen in place. What did you say? Roxana said, the country has perished. My family is all dead. I couldn't even protect my own people. The Kanta of the French royal family is now just a colony of Gania. tears smashed against the floor. How can I still be a princess? Call me whatever you want. Just call me a slave girl. Petria widened her eyes, unable to say a single word. Roxanne. Na turned her head, her long hair scattered over her shoulders. So, please, don't call me princess anymore. The white complex of buildings stood lonely under the blue sky. If someone rescued you from slavery and helped you regain a peaceful life, shouldn't a normal person feel grateful? And want to start over? Floyd clenched his fists. But that damn woman with those lifeless eyes actually said she wanted to be casually thrown away instead of being buried in the coffin of Adelia. The more he thought about that conversation, the more the anger in his chest burned. It's absolutely absurd. This sense of frustration is simply inexplicable. He placed his hand on the desk, and the desk suddenly heated up. Heck! Tun suddenly raised his hand. That burned me. The silver-haired retainer's gaze was cold. My lord, did you hear clearly what I just said? Floyd nodded. Of course. The silver-haired retainer opened the file. The owner of the merchant ship claims to have no knowledge of the slave transport. The captain seems to have accepted bribes. After the investigation concluded, the other party promised to bear that all the repair costs. Apart from that princess, among the rescued slaves, 10 wished to stay in Torkan, and 7 wished to return to their hometowns. The silver-haired retainer closed the document. Are there any other orders? How do you plan to deal with that Princess Akana? Floyd turned his head. What exactly are you trying to say? The silver-haired retainer hesitated, his fingertips rubbing his collar. Once she recovers, give her some money and send her out of Torkan. This is the best choice, my lord. Please think rationally. Floyd stood up abruptly. The commander I personally selected. That not only refers to a princess of a nation as that woman, but also suggests I throw her out to wait for death. Anger ignited in his eyes. I hope you were joking just now. If it was a joke, laugh right now and end this damn situation. Flames danced in his pupils. Floyd slammed the table hard. To drive away a pitiful woman who has lost her country and her family. Are you being serious right now? Gania's Lucas, that damn BAS. Tard, are you really that afraid of him? Ryan stood up. Please calm down, my lord. We're not afraid of Gania. Right now, we are severely understaffed. We are stretched thin just dealing with the magical beasts. If we deploy troops to handle the survivor of the French royal family, the situation will become extremely complicated. That is our concern. Moreover, we didn't say to drive her out right now. We merely suggested that after she fully recovers and finds a way to survive, we then send her away. Floyd retorted, that's exactly the same thing. If that lunatic hears she has been driven away, he will definitely do everything in his power to find her and sell her into slavery again. Are you really saying such things while being completely ignorant of what that princess's fate would be? The meeting room fell into a dead silence. Floyd snorted coldly. A bunch of pathetic fools. The heavy doors slammed shut, shattering the silence. Ryan held his forehead. What on earth should we do regarding the issue of drinking water? That I still need to continue the discussion. Hecton let out a long sigh. You should have been more tactful just now. The Lord got angry because you only wanted to drive her away, showing absolutely no mercy. Thanks to you, even I look terrible. The silver-haired man crossed his arms. Even so, did I say anything wrong? Just as Ryan said, Torkan is falling into danger because of that woman. And you, apart from criticizing us, but have done nothing. Hecton was at a loss for words. I didn't mean it like that. The silver-haired man snorted coldly. See, you don't have a better solution either. He lowered his eyes. No matter how much we sympathize with that princess, we must consider the big picture. When the capital itself can barely fend for itself, we do not wish to add another burden who will only pursue a life of luxury. Moonlight poured into the room. Floyd walked through the long corridor, his footsteps heavy. Damn it. Ever since being crowned with the name of the Cursed One, I have never slept in a peaceful place. He stopped in front of the railing. But why? Why does that princess, who should have spent her life in comfort, make me so agitated? It's as if she might push open the window at any moment, jump down, and plunge into a meaningless death. I can understand that fragile, glass-like feeling. She once had a perfect family, completely different from me. Even so, there are those who have endured the same, got pain, and ultimately survived, carrying a smile as they searched for happiness. Even a person like me, who was nothing but despairing, struggled, got to survive until now. If she has no will to start a new life, rather than acting like a siren inducing her own destruction, she should live for revenge. Just like me. If she still only craves a meaningless death, then I will be powerless. Footsteps approached from afar. Kilshan's voice came, my lord. Floyd turned his face. Rest assured, Kilshan, the luckiest thing for all of you is that the princess is dead set on dying. When she realizes there's a group of people here who want to kick her out, she might quickly bite her tongue and commit suicide. Kilshan was silent for a moment. My lord, rather than saying you're angry at us, it's more accurate to say you are feeling disappointed. And that princess, it is only natural that she is not in her right mind right now, having lost her family and suffering cruel treatment before she even had time to mourn. When a person is drowning in the pain of losing loved ones, they simply cannot think about how to solve their predicament. Not everyone is as strong. Not as you. Roxana needs time. Please give her a chance to calm her mind. I just hope her hair doesn't get any shorter. Sunlight spilled into the luxurious bedroom. Roxana sat sideways by the window, her long hair hanging down, her empty gaze looking out at the courtyard. Petria approached carrying a tray. Ultimately, I changed my address and called her Miss Roxana. When we first met, she insisted that I not call her princess, which made me very flustered. Seeing this noble person apologize to a lowly maid, I could only comply with her wishes. Roxana smelled something. The smell of water. Petria smiled. It has a bit of a salty smell, right? This is the smell of the sea. Torkan is different from the inland Kanda kingdom. It's very close to the sea here. Miss Roxana should go take a look too. The sea is really beautiful. The sparkling sandy beaches, the waves. When the sea connects with the sky, one state of mind becomes peaceful. Roxana imagined it, connecting with the sky. What's the point of admiring such beautiful scenery alone? On the dining table, delicate food was laid out. Roxana stared at the pieces of meat on the plate, and the image of her parents trapped in the box surfaced in her mind. Her stomach violently contracted. Petria dropped the tray and rushed forward. Your Highness the Princess. Roxana closed her eyes, her consciousness plunging into the deep sea. Starlight got shattered in the darkness. Lottie, come to the garden quickly. Lottie, drink some water. Heavy leather boots stomped on the floor. The footsteps. Dot abruptly stopped. Petria knelt beside Roxana, her hands tightly gripping her arms. Your Highness the Princess. Floyd stood by the door, his gaze sweeping over the untouched food tray. When was the last time she ate? Petria lowered her head and answered in a trembling voice. Although she occasionally drinks some soup very soon, but she will throw it all up. From the very first day, she hasn't been able to eat and can't even keep water down. Floyd looked down at the bed. I see. You may leave. Petria hurriedly stood up. Yes, Your Grace. Oksana is fine. Jers tightly clutched the bedsheet, her fingertips turning white from the force. Your Grace. Floyd suddenly leaned down, his large hands firmly pinning her shoulders. Are you mocking me? If you dare to kneel down one more time, I will truly get angry. If you plan to starve yourself to death, is it because you've already bribed someone to throw your corpse into the sea? If so, why not just bite your tongue and commit suicide? Why must you hold out like this? That should be much easier than starving to death, right? Roxana raised her face, her eyes hollow, saying not a single word. Floyd sneered, not even answering now. It seems the maid didn't serve you well. He suddenly pinched Roxana's chin, forcing her to lift her head. Roxana's pupils shrank. Floyd picked up a slice of orange, pressed it against her lips, and forcefully shoved it into her mouth. Just like this, Roxana was forced to arch her neck. Juice slid down the corner of her mouth, and tears that swirled in her eyes. Floyd stared into her eyes. As long as that it's shoved directly into your mouth, you will eat it. Roxana suddenly bit down on Floyd's finger. Floyd sneered. That's right, princess. You chew and swallow. This way, you will have the strength to feel angry at my humiliating actions, won't you? With that powerless mouth of yours. Did you really think you could bite off my finger? Roxana stared fixedly at the man in front of her. A sense of humiliation exploded in her chest. I see. This man is humiliating me like this to provoke my will to live. Someone like me will only bring trouble. If I die, Torkan will be better off. Why is he trying so? That hard to save me? Floyd lowered his eyes, dead set on dying, without the slightest will to live. That feeling, I know it all too well. He knelt on one knee in front of the bed. You still should try hard to live on, even if breathing itself has become difficult and disgusting. If you force yourself to live on, there will always be one or two good things that happen. There will always be days that can make you smile. If you do that, maybe one day I might even think that being alive is truly good. Roxana grabbed Floyd's hand. How could you possibly know? That's such a thing? She placed Floyd's hand on her own neck. Please let me die. Your Grace, I will obey any command. Please tie me to a stone. Throw you into the sea. Floyd nodded. All right, princess, then we will do it that way. Roxana suddenly widened her eyes. Floyd added, just live for 1 year. Live through this year healthily and normally. By then, if you still want to sink into the sea, I will personally send you to that place. As you wish, no one will ever offer you a flower of Adelia. But if you don't immediately get out of bed and walk within a week, if you refuse to communicate with anyone, our agreement is void. Not only that, in order for you to be embraced by God when you loathe it, I will have you buried in a field of Adelia flowers for the rest of your life, never to escape. Petria stood by the door, watching the dining table. Roxana hadn't had a drop of water, even causing the head chef to fall into a panic. Since her meeting with the Grand Duke, Roxana started eating. The portions gradually increased day by day, and she was finally able to eat a full meal. Her swallowing motions were stiff, as if she were chewing on rusty iron pieces. Petria withdrew her gaze, feeling no peace in her heart. She could only choose to believe that everything would improve day by day. Miss Roxana, the bathwater is ready. I will assist you with your bath. Roxana turned her head. It's fine. You may leave. I will do it myself. Petria was taken aback. Another maid lowered her head to hide her expression, thinking that serving a troublesome princess would be hard work. So this suited her perfectly. She spoke up. She said she wants to wash alone. Can I leave now? Roxana stepped barefoot into the water, ripples spreading across the surface. Torkan must be very wealthy. Even when pioneering on a desolate land and dealing with monsters pouring out from the rifts, they managed to create such a luxurious space. Roxana leaned against the edge of the pool. The Grand Duke's title was also earned by exterminating monsters. The monsters were extremely formidable, even capable of plunging well-trained knights into a bitter struggle. Robert once told me, "Don't worry, Princess, I will always protect you, so you don't need to fear the monsters." Roxana curled up in the center of the bath. Because of my reliable escort knight, I used to be fearless. But because he protected me, that he died at the hands of the monsters. Too many people have already died out of loyalty to the royal family, and I cannot even mourn for them. I need to wait one more year. Sunlight bathed the Torkan palace as white doves flew past the spires. Roxana held a comb, brushing her long hair alone. Petria quickly stepped forward. Miss Roxana, please let me comb your hair for you. Roxana said, "It's fine, Petria. I'm no longer a true princess. You don't have to serve me like this. Every time you show me kindness, I get the illusion that I'm still a princess. This is unbearable for me. I will tell His Grace the Grand Duke that you did a good job, so go out and rest." Petria froze in place. Roxana walked towards the balcony. Although she felt sorry for the kind Petria, this was the right thing to do. A servant working in the Grand Duke's estate, like her, should be serving noble people. Taking care of a slave, like me, must make her uncomfortable. Sunlight filled the courtyard. The fountain danced in the center of the garden. Even if this scenery is moving, it is only a place where I will stay for a year. A little girl hid behind the green leaves and smiled. Roxana suddenly widened her eyes, her pupils trembling. She lifted her dress and ran wildly. The soles of her shoes stepped heavily on the stone path, and the wind tangled her long hair. Petria chased after her. Miss Roxana, your body hasn't fully recovered yet. You shouldn't run like this. Roxana rushed deep into the garden, her fingertips trembling as she reached out. I once truly wanted to believe that those children were still alive. My young, adorable niece and nephew. I once firmly believed that they would at least spare the young children. Roxana called out, "Preacher, Winiel." Two children stood among the flowers, looking at her timidly. Roxana's eyes grew moist, and tears rolled down her cheeks. The boy lowered his head. "I am sorry, princess. Dad said we can't come in without permission. We sneaked in." Roxana calmed her breathing. "It's all right. You can play a little longer because right now, I am the one living here." The boy's eyes lit up. "Really? Thank you. Let's go over to the pond, yo." The girl ran away happily. "Thank you, kind fairy." Roxana closed her eyes and tilted her head up, feeling the breeze. I never thought this feeling could make me breathe again. Petria stepped forward. "Miss Roxana, the wind. That is getting cold. You should go back inside." Yo ran over quickly. "Fairy sister." She bumped into Roxana's arms and hugged her tightly with both hands. "This is a gift for you." A bouquet of wildflowers was handed to her. "Thank you for letting us play in the garden today." Roxana lowered her eyes, her hair covering her face. "It's nothing." She revealed a smile. "I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for coming here." She knelt on the grass and tightly held the child's hands. "I am truly great." Full. Yol skipped and waved her arms. "I really like that fairy." She held her brother's hand as they walked in the garden. "The fairy we met today was so gentle, right, brother?" The boy nodded in response. "She seems like a good Person. If the Twin Knights found us, we would definitely be kicked out. We were really lucky. I think that isn't a fairy. She's a princess. Yul stopped in her tracks. Does our country have a princess too? The boy lowered his voice. She moved into the Lily Palace not long ago. Yul widened her eyes. That's a super. That fancy place. But why was that princess crying? The boy was silent for a moment. I don't know. Maybe she lost something very precious. Yul widened her eyes. Just like Sister Kelly. When she lost her boyfriend, she had that kind of look too. If that's the case, she must be very. That's sad. Yul tightly squeezed her brother's hand. Brother, we should be nicer to the princess from now on. Just like how we helped Sister Kelly smile again. The boy smiled. Let's do that. What happened today at that place? That must be kept a secret from Mom. Floyd watched the children's retreating figures. These two little brats. He took large strides, forward and scooped up Yul. Where did you two sneak off to again? You should at least tell me first. Yul struggled in his arms. Lord. The boy stood to the side. Thank goodness it's the Lord. We just went to the garden of the Lily Palace. We saw the princess today. Floyd's eyes flickered. The princess? She came out of the palace? The boy tilted his face up. Yes, we were playing nearby, and she wasn't angry at all. We gave her flowers to thank her, but as she spoke, she started to shed. Tears. Floyd remained silent. She cried after receiving flowers from children. She actually met the condition. He didn't know whether to feel relieved or sorrowful. The boy tugged at Floyd's hem. Lord, can we still go play at the Lily Palace? Floyd reached out and patted his head. Of course. Go and make the princess happy. Don't let her shed tears anymore. I will keep this a secret from your father for you. The vase on the table held the wildflowers. Roxana stared at the petals, her thoughts swallowed by darkness. That day, a pained voice echoed in her ears. Lottie, please drink some water. Humans can't survive without water. Don't die, Lottie. That was the voice that had accompanied her since childhood, gentle and anxious. Roxana snapped back to reality. We'll take good care of them. These children will live long, healthy lives. She stood by the window, her fingertips gently caressing the petals. When I was exhausted, those voices used to annoy me, but that always stayed there, comforting me. She lowered her eyes. Thank you. Petria pushed the door open. Miss Roxana, it's time for your meal. You've had a good appetite lately, so I prepared a bit more this time. Roxana looked at the hearty plate. I can't finish this alone. Petria, eat with me. Petria stood frozen. That's absolutely not allowed. Roxana softly insisted. Sit down. Accompany me. Petria said, thanks to you, I've been eating very well lately. Even the apprentice chef Jackie, who handles the leftovers, has been very grateful to you. Roxana was taken aback. Is that so? Petria held her fork. You're the one who should eat more, Miss Roxana. Roxana looked at the plate. I've already eaten a lot, don't worry. The door was suddenly pushed open, and Floyd stood in the doorway. Are you having a meal? May I come in? Petria's face turned pale. To be caught eating with the princess. I'm dead meat. Floyd looked down at Roxana. I told you not to kneel, yet you're doing it again. He reached out, grabbed Roxana's wrist, and helped her up. Please continue your meal. Roxana avoided his gaze. I'm full. Floyd glanced at the table. Eat a little more. Petria lowered her head and backed towards the door. This isn't a place for me. I need to leave quickly before I get scolded. Roxana asked, is that an order? Floyd looked down at Roxana. That's right. It's an order. If you don't finish this plate, I won't leave. Roxana let out a soft sigh and sat back down at the dining table. Floyd pondered. So as long as it's an order, she will obediently comply? He looked towards the vase on the windowsill. Do you like flowers? Roxana looked down, cutting her food. Yes. Floyd's lips curled up slightly. Besides flowers. Now what else do you like? Roxana remained silent, completely ignoring the question. Floyd stared at her profile. She actually ignored me directly. He dropped his smile. I have already sent people to the Kana Kingdom. There will be news soon. The hand Roxana used to hold her cutlery suddenly tightened, her fingertips turning white from the force. Floyd continued. Who knows? Maybe someone from the royal family is still alive. Roxana's pupils shrank slightly. Thank you for everything you've done for me. But if you truly hope for me to live another year, please do not reignite the hope I finally managed to extinguish. Do not give me false expectations. Just let me live on, breathing without any expectations. Floyd stood in silence, his gaze dark. Why am I so angry? Is it because she ignored my sincerity? Or because she is holding her own life hostage? Or perhaps because, even after receiving help, she remains so desperate? He clenched his fists tightly, his knuckles cracking. I must calm down, otherwise the flames. That will lose control again. He froze in place. Why is there no reaction? Whenever my emotions fluctuate violently, the flames should burst out from my body and incinerate everything. Is it because of her? Floide tentativa la spoke, prin. Dot says, may I hold your arm for a moment? Roxana looked up, her gaze empty. You don't need to ask for my permission. You are my master. Floyd let out a sigh. Like this again. He grasped Roxana's slender wrist. Just for a moment. How does it feel? Do you feel any unusual? That heat or any other sensation? Roxana raised her eyes to look at him. Does your grace expect me to react like a woman? Floyd froze, releasing his hand and stumbling backward. His face flushed red. What nonsense are you talking about? Moonlight enveloped the estate. Deep in the courtyard, tree shadows swayed from the grass. That came the rapid sound of rustling. Sharp claws stepped heavily into the mud, crushing dry leaves. A giant wolf revealed itself. Its fur gleamed with a cold light in the night, and a low growl rumbled from deep within its throat. The palace shone white under the sunlight. Floyd strode through the corridor, his leather shoes clicking against the marble floor. She actually thought I wanted her to give that kind of reaction? Utterly absurd. Where on earth did she learn those words? I was clearly just asking her. Thought if her body temperature was too hot. He collected his thoughts, remembering the kindness she showed to the children. He had intended to introduce her to the children's father, the knight commander named Hest. Roxana sat by the window in the greenhouse. No need. It's unnecessary. That would only bring unnecessary trouble to the knights. Floyd stared at her, his gaze sinking in the setting sun. Roxana lowered her eyes. She knew very well that to Torkan, she was a dangerous and troublesome existence. Unlike my family who have already died, I can't even manage to die. I'm sorry that only I have survived so stubbornly. Leather shoes stepped across the cold floor tiles. Floyd stopped in the spacious corridor, letting out a short, cold laugh. Truly insane. She can calmly assess the situation. So why is she so harsh on herself? Surviving is not a sin, princess. You may plan to seek death after our agreed 1 year. But that will absolutely not happen. On the contrary, you will find yourself desiring to live more than ever, because I will make your wish come true. Rapid footsteps broke the silence. An attendant ran quickly towards the end of the corridor. Your Grace. Floyd turned around. What happened? Has the magical beast appeared? The attendant stopped, panting. It's not that. The investigation team you ordered has been fully assembled. Point 1 is on standby in the hall. Floyd took a step. I must go there immediately. Lend me your arm for a moment. He reached out and grabbed the attendant's wrist, his fingertips tightening forcefully. The attendant's body jolted violently, letting out a short gasp. Floyd asked, how does it feel? Is it very hot? The attendant squeezed his eyes shut, sweat seeping from his forehead. Since you already knew, why did you suddenly do that? Late November, Torkan territory. Banners and colorful flags were hung. The festival was approaching. Villagers carried wooden basins. Children ran through the streets, and the sound of laughter filled the market. The Grand Duke's estate. The white towers stood tall, sunlight piercing through the arches. Inside the meeting room, the atmosphere was solemn. The crowd reported that victims had also appeared in nearby villages. The situation was spiraling out of control. They must immediately lock down the surrounding areas. The infected children died rapidly after being diagnosed. The parents who had contact with the children also fell into comas. The contamination was spreading extremely fast. Torkan might not last through next week. Your Grace, you must make a decision now. Floyd remained silent, his gaze frozen in the dim hall. He had originally thought it was just a common seasonal illness, but the reality was entirely different. A sudden plague was dragging the territory into the abyss. The infected had skin covered in red rashes, persistent high fever, and died after bleeding from all their orifices. The investigation team brought back the conclusion. The water source was contaminated. The magic power near the village corroded the well water. That magical beast was exceptionally cunning, lurking in the shadows and continuously injecting toxins into the river. Its last appearance was in the forest near the capital. Although the Grand Duke's estate has not yet been affected, they must remain vigilant. Floyd tapped his fingertips on the table. Forbid any contact with the water sources within the Grand Duke's estate. Notify everyone to switch to water from the reservoir. The silver-haired retainer bowed his head to accept the order. Yes. Floyd stared at the table. Is there still no way to lure that magical beast out of the forest? The silver-haired retainer looked troubled. I'm afraid so. Floyd's gaze sank into the shadows. In that case, once the festival preparations are ready, immediately arrange for the refugees to enter the capital. He opened his palm, and crimson flames rose from his fingertips. We're going to burn down the entire forest, and drag that magical beast out. The officials in the seats looked at each other, the air distorting in the heat. Ryan looked troubled. That is a vast forest, and many people call a home. If we really do this, the funding. Another official interrupted him. Just hunting down one magical beast will cover all the funds needed to resettle the refugees. No matter the cost, it's better than dying from magic erosion. Floyd said, we depart for the hunt in 3 days. Until then, the villagers have time to handle their affairs. The butler stepped forward and bowed slightly. Your Highness, the task you mentioned previously, decorating the Lily Palace with Adelia flowers, was completed this morning. Floyd nodded. Is that so? I should go take a look. He turned his head. The entourage must bring fireproof suits. The meeting is adjourned. You may all leave. Sunlight filled the courtyard, the fountain pool shimmering. The pavilion stood amidst the flowers. In the center, Yul ran across the lawn, her laughter crisp. You can't catch me. Roxana. Sat quietly in the pavilion, her hands folded on her knees, gazing blankly into the distance. Early winter in Torkon, though warm, was now starting to get cold. Floyd draped his coat over Roxana's shoulders. You'll catch a cold coming out dressed like this. Princess. Yul waved from a distance. Lord, Dad still hasn't found out we're playing here. Thank you for keeping it a secret for us. Floyd raised his hand in acknowledgement. I always keep my promises. If I really kept it a secret, their parents would faint. I have no choice. He looked at Roxana. I need to talk to the princess. You two go play by yourselves. Don't go near the pond. Yul's voice came from afar. Got it. Roxana lowered her eyes. My whole life has been spent maintaining a noble facade, unable to show my true feelings. This man, as the ruler of a nation, can frankly express his joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness, interacting with everyone without any scruples. He opened a box. The way he looks down at me is as tough and cold as his title, but he's actually more interesting than I imagined. But to me, you're truly cruel. Floyd stood in the pavilion. Me? In what way? Roxana looked around. This entire place. You decorated it with Adelia flowers. Floyd, let out a soft sigh. You think I'm cruel because of this? I can't fulfill every wish just because someone wants it, especially that kind of self-destructive behavior. Roxana remained silent. Floyd, reached out and plucked a light-colored flower, his fingers brushing the petals. Relax. I'm not going to eat you. He brought the flower. To his nose. The festival will start soon. When the time comes, you should go take a walk in the city. Roxana's eyelashes fluttered slightly. I'd rather you completely devour me. From head to toe, Floyd let out a light laugh. I'm not hungry enough right now to eat a princess, but it seems I will soon feel thirsty. You should drink more water too. Roxana suddenly widened her eyes, her breathing stopping. How could it be? The illusory voice exploded in her mind. Lottie, it's very dangerous here. We have to leave. If you can't hear our voices, do not go near the water. This is exactly the same as what those voices told me last time. Roxana asked, how did you know the water is dangerous? Rokana Giripit had him. Could it be that the Grand Duke can also hear that voice? Floyd stood silently. Do I look like an incompetent ruler who only cares about drinking and ignores matters of state? This is happening within my tur. That right to me, of course I know. Anyway, please be careful. Even the Grand Duke's estate cannot completely avoid contaminated water sources. Roxana stared at him. You are very gentle to actually worry about a foreigner like me. Floyd looked towards the distant city of Torkon. The people living here. Chose to settle here because they trust me. Torkon is an independent nation founded by outsiders. I originally had no intention of founding a country here. He lowered his eyes. But you should already know how desolate this land used to be. This place. That was once under the rule of the Gania kingdom. The rifts opened, monsters ran rampant, and it was known as the cursed land of death. Villages were reduced to scorched earth and people. Fled in all directions. The Gania kingdom, as the legal owner of the territory, also completely abandoned this land of despair. Right in that tragic moment, Floyd appeared amidst the ruined walls. He was the illegitimate son cursed by the kingdom. A colossal magical beast spread its wings, its sharp claws digging into the stone bricks, letting out an earth-shattering roar. Floyd faced the giant beast alone. He unleashed the power born from long-term persecution. Flames that shot into the sky and fiery serpents instantly engulfed the magical beast. Its mournful cries echoed through the heavens, and the sound of the explosion tore through the wilderness mist. It turned to ash in the flames. A red flag with a wolf crest rose in the smoke. Peace returned to this land, and Torkon was born from this. I wandered my whole life and just wanted to find a quiet place to live with my companions. This place was just right. People with nowhere to go began to gather. First it was a village, then it became a country. At first I just found it troublesome and exhausting. But those people came here to survive. They only trusted me. And that's why they chose this land. A faint curve appeared at the corner of Floyd's mouth. Since the Empire bestowed the title of Grand Duke upon me, I had no way out. I could only continue to play the role of a lord. A guy who doesn't even know. Etiquette, playing king all day, it really drives you crazy. Burning down their homes to save the residents. Even now, I still don't know if that's correct. He raised his hand, pressed his forehead, and let out a self-deprecating laugh. Really, to think I would say these things to a princess who's hell-bent on dying. Roxana, spoke up, there is no single correct path for a ruler. As long as you can earn the trust of your people, you are a true leader. I think you're doing very well. With a splash, the water's surface churned violently. Splashes of water hit the stone steps of the pavilion. The boy got squatted on the grass, hugging Yul tightly with both hands. Roxana rushed forward. Floyd grabbed her. The water source in the Grand Duke's estate. That is contaminated. It's very dangerous here. He took off his coat and wrapped it around Yul. Please return to your room immediately. Roxana insisted. I want to help, even just a little bit. Floyd stood up. There is nothing you can do. The crystal chandelier swayed in the spacious hall, casting shadows over the folding screen. Kilshan stood by the window. Fortunately, the examination results show that Dennis is not infected with a magic disease. However, Yul's condition is extremely poor. Yul lay on the pristine white bed, her eyes tightly closed, her breathing weak, and her cheeks showing a sickly, dark pallor. Kilshan continued speaking. The magic erosion is too fast. Yul won't last long, unless a priest comes to purify her within 3 days. If Yul continues to be infected by this magic, she will eventually turn into one of those monsters. Hecton knelt on the ground, his voice trembling. I beg you, I can't do it. I cannot personally plunge a knife into my daughter's heart. Please say my daughter. Floyd stood bare-chested in the light and shadows, enveloped in a scorching aura. Kilshan lowered his eyes. Lord, there are still many other injured people waiting. Calm down. And make a wise decision. Moonlight pierced through the carved curtains, spilling into the silent corridor. Tree shadows flickered mottled on the walls. Roxana turned her head to look out the window, the moonlight reflecting on her face. It's all my fault. It's because of me again. If I hadn't let the children go to the garden, if I had listened to the warnings from those voices, none of this would have happened. I really can't do anything right. The wind blew across the grass, rustling noisily. Roxana pushed open the heavy, carved doors. She stepped onto the edge of the terrace, her white dress swaying violently in the night wind. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Forgive me for returning to God's embrace alone. Petria suddenly rushed out, grabbing Roxana tightly with both hands. She held onto her waist and cried loudly. Miss Roxana, please don't do this. Miss Bill would never want to see you like this. Roxana turned her head back. No, I can't do this. If I die here, it will only bring more pain to Petria. I can't hurt anyone else anymore. The room was brightly lit. The pink flowers in the vase bloomed quietly. I don't want to be a burden anymore. If I could be useful to someone, but that might be better. A voice came through. Lottie, we will protect you. Roxana fell into thought. The flowers that were broken long ago are still alive. Even though the water in the Grand Duke's territory is polluted, those voices still kept their promise, using the special power my mother mentioned. They are protecting you. Her mother sat by the bed. Lottie, their power is extremely strong. They could do many things. Her mother cupped Roxana's face, her fingertips brushing across her cheeks. But after years of persecution, they began to resent humans and refuse to provide any help. They only have special pity for you, appearing only before you. Perhaps one day, they will show you a different side. But remember, in order to live a peaceful life, you must hide this truth. Roxana made up her mind. If I am truly the one favored by them, then let that power be used by me. She tightly hugged the vase. I'm willing to offer this body. So I beg you, spirits. Hecton sat by Yul's bedside. As a father, I am so sorry. Unable to help, Yul on the sickbed lets out a faint moan. Floyd, that walks through the white corridor, his gaze icy. Behind him, an attendant reports in a low voice, "My lord, aside from the servants in the Lily Palace, there are currently no other victims. The monster seems to have only contaminated the drinking water here." Floyd narrows his eyes slightly. After infiltrating the most luxurious area and contaminating the water source, but did it escape? If a lunatic really sneaked in last night, they couldn't have gone far. Gather the elite trackers and form an extermination squad. Go right now and burn that damn beast to ashes. Heavy footsteps echo again, dot through the corridor. At the end of the corridor, Roxana stands quietly, holding a vase, her white dress like. Dot snow. Floyd's gaze is cold. "I told you to stay in your room. It's dangerous. Why are you here?" Roxana says, "A child is dying. I heard many servants have also collapsed, so I want to help. Please let me do something, anything." Ryan lets out a scoff. "What nonsense are you talking about?" The black-haired man says, "My lord, Her Highness the Princess has good intentions. Perhaps you could gently persuade her to go back." Floyd raises his hand to stop them. "No, we cannot let the princess be afflicted by the curse. Please go back." He looks down at Roxana. "Besides, it's impossible for me not to see through your true intentions. There are no such flowers in the infirmary. In your current state, you are so weak you could die at any moment. Are you intentionally going in there to die? Even the greatest doctor cannot solve the current situation. You can do nothing here." Roxana steps sideways, her white dress brushing past Floyd's coat. A blue mist diffuses like a tide. "What is this?" Floyd suddenly reaches out and grips Roxana's shoulder tightly. "Your Highness, please don't go." Sparks crackle between his fingers, and an azure light swallows his vision. Floyd freezes in place, cold sweat rolling down his forehead. What he once thought was a coincidence, that now feels like destiny. He extends his hand, but before his fingertips touch Roxana, an invisible force repels him, as if a stern reprimand is rejecting anyone from approaching. Roxana kneels on the ground. "Sir Hecton." Hecton looks up, his eyes red and his expression haggard. Roxana says, "I might be able to cure this child." The door is suddenly pushed open. "What nonsense!" The silver-haired man strides into the room, his long hair flying with his movements. "Do not deceive this poor man with false hope. Don't you understand that empty promises become deadly poison?" Roxana turns her head slightly. "You say my words and actions are futile, that I cannot save these people. What makes you so certain? Even if you despise and doubt my existence, in such a moment of despair, shouldn't we try every possibility?" Hecton sits by the bed, his hands gripping his knees tightly. "She's right. I don't mind. Please let the Princess of Kanta give a try. For the sake of the other victims, and for my daughter." Yo lies on the white bed sheets, her face flushed, sweat soaking her temples, her breathing faint and heavy. Floyd watches all this expressionlessly. "I don't know what you plan to do, but go ahead and try." Roxana says, "My lord, if possible, I would like to ask for one more favor. As the ruler of a nation, since you have decided to take a gamble, please do it thoroughly. Please trust me a little more, and have everyone accept the patience. Leave the room." The pink flowers in the vase bloom quietly. "It might get a bit chaotic in here, but it won't last long, and no one will lose their life because of it. So you don't need to worry." Kilshan steps forward. "My lord, as a doctor, I cannot accept this request." Floyd looks around. "Everyone except the patients leave immediately." Roxana holds up the vase full of flowers. "If you're truly not the demon the world claims you are, if you can truly bring all things back to life." She closes her eyes, her long hair dancing wildly in the light and shadow. "Answer me, Undine." A pillar of azure light pierces the ceiling, and water spirals upward like a giant dragon. The entire hall is swallowed by intense light. A transparent body breaks through the waves, and the water spirit dances gracefully. She floats in midair, leaning down close to Roxana. "Long time no see, Lottie." The water spirit smiles. "We finally meet again after 100 years. Roxana looks up, watching the dancing spirit. 100 years? The water spirit circles around Roxana. "You've grown up and become so beautiful. You must be 150 years old now, right? My children have been taking good care of you, haven't they? They always prepared clean bathwater for you, and even made your drinking water cooler than usual. All of this was for your skin. I specifically ordered all this for you. I did a great job, didn't I?" Roxana watches the dancing spirit. She speaks so fast that it's almost impossible to keep up with her rhythm, but one thing is certain. She harbors good intentions toward me. The spirit lets out a crisp laugh. It tickles. "You are exactly the same as when we first met." You haven't changed a bit. Roxana's tone is serious. Undine, people are dying. Undine lands lightly on Roxana's palm and looks down at the sickbed. Yes, they have been corrupted by miasma. Even such a weak miasma can leave them bedridden. Humans are indeed still so fragile and troublesome. Roxana lowers her gaze. The children guarding the flowers told me they lack the power to defeat the monster that infiltrated the palace, nor can they dispel the miasma. They are just creatures born of water, drifting with the current. But they said that by borrowing your body, those people could be healed. Because you are different from those children, you are a spirit with greater power. Spirits, they were once regarded as nature's blessing. However, long ago, the priests who served the gods denied their existence, calling it a blasphemy against the gods. Their power became a taboo, and they even lost their names. The priests gathered around the magic circle, reaching their hands toward the stars and rings, sealing the ancient pacts in darkness. Iron cages were wrapped in chains, and the light was imprisoned behind bars. Spirits and shadow priests stood before the high tower, clad in robes, looking down at the gradually withering bloodlines. The number of summoners drastically decreased. Survivors pulled their hoods tight, blending into the crowds to evade the searcher's gaze. The former blessing was ultimately branded a curse. If this power that was truly used to save people. Undine nods. Of course it can. For this level of miasma, you just need to squeeze it out of their bodies. Roxana turns her head, looking at the dying people on the sickbeds. Then save them. Undine sits on Roxana's palm. I don't want to save them. Roxana is stunned. Why won't you save them? Undine says, to directly intervene in human affairs, I must borrow your body. But you're too weak right now. If you accept me, you will die. So I refuse. Roxana lowers her eyes. So that's the reason. She presses Undine against her chest. Undine looks panicked. Wait a minute. What are you doing? Roxana says, if it's only because of that, I don't mind. She closes her fingers, forcefully pressing Undine into her chest. Undine shouts, let go. I'm not okay with this at all. There are hardly any humans left who can communicate with us. Where on earth did you learn such forceful methods? Roxana closes her eyes, letting the torrent wash over her body. A faint smile appears at the corner of her mouth. I don't care. It doesn't matter if I die. Several people stand guard outside the door. Ryan furrows his brows. The one who should have left the infirmary is that brainless girl who barged in with flowers. Who knows what she's doing in there? Why do we have to leave? The Lord must be crazy. The black-haired man crosses his arms. I don't think so. Compared to a rigid, arrogant, and inflexible guy like you, following the princess's judgment. That is obviously wiser. After all, she made all of you shut up with just a few words. To be honest, seeing that was quite satisfying. Ryan turned sharply. What did you say? He grits his teeth. You brat, how dare you speak to your senior like that? Hecton lowers his eyes, the scar across his face prominent. Roxana, why would she do this? He recalls Roxana's words. Even if it costs me my life, I will save this child. He raises a hand to his forehead. So that's what those ominous words meant? I shouldn't have just let her pass. The situation was so urgent. My mind was a mess. I made the wrong judgment. If she plans to overdraw her life, to use that forbidden dark magic, there's still time. I should be the one risking everything to save y'all. I shouldn't have put her in danger. Hecton looks at Floyd. This won't do. We must stop her. Floyd freezes. What? Hecton says it's all my fault. If we don't go in immediately, something will happen to her. The gap in the door. Dot emits a blindingly bright light. Everyone's eyes are filled with shock. What is this? Floyd rushes forward. Your Highness. Water droplets continuously drip down the lamp wicks, smashing onto the cold floor. What on earth happened? Your Highness. Roxana lies in a puddle of water, her long hair scattered, her body motionless. Hecton also rushes into the room, his footsteps skidding to a halt in the water. His pupils dilate in shock. Yell on the sickbed is breathing steadily, her face rosy. The miasma in her body that has completely disappeared. Kilshan runs between the beds. Here too, all the patients have returned to normal. This is simply a miracle. Floyd picks up Roxana. Absurd. This is impossible. If this is truly a miracle, then what is the price? Everything happening before my eyes shouldn't exist. Damn it. He carries Roxana and rushes down the corridor, his leather boots echoing loudly on the stone floor. If we stay in the infirmary, she will be completely frozen. I absolutely cannot let anyone else see. The princess in her current state. He pushes open the doors of his bedchamber. The doors slam against the wall. That with a loud bang. Floyd places Roxana on the bed. His fingertips touch her cheek. Her skin is as pale as paper. He can't hear her breathing and can't even tell if she Dot is still alive. Only one thing is certain. When he held her just now, the repulsive, stinging sensation disappeared. My flames didn't burn her. If that's the case, maybe I can save her. Floyd grits his teeth, sweat rolling down the corner of his eye. I'm sorry, Your Highness, for doing this without your permission. Flames erupt wildly around them, the heat wave whipping up their hair. Floyd tightens his arms, holding Roxana tightly. But I really cannot watch you die. Floyd gazes at Roxana. You must live, even if it goes against your will. He furrows his brows. The heat is more intense than usual. Flames continuously surge into Roxana's body, as if trying to devour her in order to survive. A voice rings out, "Damn you, you lunatic." Floyd muses the mad entity. It's been a long time. But since I heard such an evaluation, this familiar voice, is it all because of Her Highness? Waves of fire shoot, dot into the sky. Floyd closes his eyes and presses Roxana against his chest. Fire snakes climb up the stone pillars in the bedchamber that is filled with heat waves. Roxana suddenly opens her eyes, gasping for air. Sweat rolls down her cheeks, her gaze unfocused. She looks at Floyd. The child? Floyd smiles. They are safe. Everyone is safe. Roxana's body gradually relaxes, her tense fingertips loosening. That's good. Floyd turns his head, his gaze resting on Roxana's shoulder. Indeed, very lucky. He pulls the person in his arms closer, his movements gentle. Thanks to you, everyone survived. Sleep a little longer. You created a miracle. Footsteps echo in the corridor. Ryan opens his arms. What exactly did Her Highness do? I thought she was the water that could extinguish the Lord's flames. But do you know what Yul said? Kilshan looks at him. Your way of addressing her has changed. From that woman, to Her Highness. Ryan continues. Yul said a fanged beast was chasing her in the dark. She ran desperately until she saw a faint light in the distance. Roxana stood at the end of the light and shadow. Yul ran toward that light, and then woke up. Kilshan scoffs coldly. Just a nightmare. Ryan shakes his head. It wasn't a nightmare. All the patients had the same dream. They dreamt of themselves running desperately toward the shining. Princess, this is something the Lord could never do. It is a power unique to Her Highness. The silver-haired man looks ahead. Perhaps the Lord realized this long ago. That's why he accepted her. Ryan says, I don't think so. When the Lord pushed open the infirmary doors, he looked more panicked than anyone else. He even seemed a bit clumsy. The silver-haired man speaks coldly. Watch your words. The black-haired man restrains his smile. Is Her Highness really okay? She looked like she was dead back there. She saved everyone from their nightmares. I hope right now that she can have a sweet dream. Sunlight bathes the garden. Roxana runs on the lawn. She opens her arms to welcome the water spirits dancing in the sky. Her laughter dissipates in the floral scent. A water spirit leans close to her ear. Did you know, when you were in your mother's womb, that you almost lost your life? We saved you. The spirit kings worked together to preserve your life. Although they despise humans, your mother always treated us gently. The kings answered her prayers. Therefore, you are also our child. We will always protect you. A pair of arms wraps around from behind, holding Roxana. Tightly. Ejin says expressionlessly, Spirits, please do not do this. Roxana looks up with a bright smile. Brother Ejin. Ejin continues, stop pestering her. Complain all you want. Anyway, but I can't hear your voices. There are people everywhere in the palace. If you appear and speak in front of her, others will think that she's a freak. The water spirits circle in midair, letting out dissatisfied cries. Ejin is so stupid. Not cute at all. Lottie is ours. Roxana waves her small hand. Goodbye. She tugs at the corner of Ejin's clothes. Brother, are you angry? Ejin stops. Of course not. I will never. I'll be angry with you. You're my only sister. Roxana tilts her head. What about Dennis? Ejin frowns. He's too reckless. And besides, but he's a boy. Roxana throws her head back and laughs. I don't want any more brothers. Just thinking about it makes me tired. She hugs Ejin's arm. Brother Ejin, that when I grow up, I'm going to marry you. Ejin freezes, then bursts into laughter. He takes Roxana's hand and walks toward the palace. Are you serious? You can't go back on your word later. Roxana skips. Alongside him. I'm serious. The scene begins to distort, and the laughter gradually fades away. Roxana shouts. No, she struggles in the darkness. Please don't go. Don't let me wake up from this dream. Tears roll down from the corners of her eyes, soaking the pillow. Brother Ejin, My stubborn, yet gentle eldest brother. Roxana jolts awake from the dream, her chest heaving violently. A broken sob escapes her throat. Tears blur her vision as her consciousness gradually returns. A heavy sense of pressure comes from her side. Floyd is lying on his side on the bed, bare-chested. His arms tightly wrap around her waist, locking her in his embrace. Roxana wonders why he is here. Roxana tries to break free, but her body is locked down by a force like iron pillars, hindering her breathing. So heavy. I want to leave. She tries to move her body, but cannot escape at all. She lets out a soft sigh, her gaze landing on the profile, so close at hand. Floyd's eyes are closed, his breathing steady. Even now, she cannot ignore this face, its contours as distinct as a stone sculpture. Floyd wakes up. He turns his head and smiles. "Good morning, Your Highness." Floyd tilts his head back, liquid sliding down his throat. Roxana sits on the edge of the bed, her gaze lowered. The Lord of Torcon certainly lives up to his name. Lucas grits his teeth. What's so great about that barbaric bastard? Just because he can handle a few monsters, everyone goes crazy for him. It's pathetic. Roxana stands quietly. Dot in the background. Although Lucas says that women probably want him for more than just his martial achievements. Floyd sets down the jug. "Would you like some? Am I drinking too crudely? I didn't even use a cup." Roxana averts her gaze. "Did I stare for too long?" Floyd walks to the table, his fingertips brushing past the exquisite tea set. "It's been a long time since I slept so peacefully. Thanks to Your Highness, I was able to sleep on a soft bed again." Roxana looks at his profile. A long time since he slept well? Where's this? Floyd stops his movements. "My bedroom." Roxana freezes in place. "Your bedroom?" Her eyes widen, her pupils trembling slightly. Roxana looks around. No curtains, no sofa. The walls are covered in scorch marks. Even the bed and chairs are forged from steel. Can this even be called a bedroom? Floyd rolls his shoulders. "Spectacular, isn't it? I usually never use blankets. Thanks to you, I actually slept with one last night." Roxana looks puzzled. "As long as you give the order, a blanket can be brought at any time." Floyd reaches out and grabs his clothes. "As long as it doesn't get burned." He puts on his clothes. "At least the clothes I wear. That don't catch on fire. I'm already very grateful for that." Roxana holds her breath. The flames on that merchant ship. Floyd lowers his eyelids, his gaze hidden in the shadows. "I have many things to ask you, Your Highness." He walks toward the bed. "Inside my body reside the mad. That entity." He presses his chest. "It is an endless tyranny. Whenever I get angry, the flames spiral out of control, destroying everything around me. Fire snakes engulf the pier, wooden frames collapsing in the blazing inferno. Wherever it passes, nothing survives. It is a cursed fire." He leans down, getting closer to Roxana. "Strangely enough, as long as you are by my side, it quiets down. What do you think this means? While you were unconscious, some strange things happened. Explaining them will take some time, so we'll talk about it later." He reaches out and presses the bedsheet, his fingertips sinking into the folds. "What I want to know most right now is..." He looks directly at Roxana. "Do you know, Your Highness? What exactly is this mad entity residing in my body?" Roxana remains expressionless, her gaze vacant. Her mother's expression was solemn. "Never tell anyone. If the temple knows you can see spirits, they will never let you live." Roxana's lips part slightly. "A spirit." She looks straight ahead. "What resides in your body?" "That is a spirit." Floyd Charlotte Rattern stares at her without saying a word. Floyd's Adam's apple bobs slightly. "A spirit?" Sunlight bathes the courtyard. Roxana walks down the steps alone. "Could I be mistaken?" She stops, her fingertips gripping her collar tightly. "I thought the Grand Duke was a spirit envoy like me." Undine floats in the air. "That man is not a spirit envoy. He is just a toy. How pitiful to be such a thing." Roxana clasps her hands. "A toy? Whose toy?" "The spirits didn't tell me, so I couldn't reveal any more to the Grand Duke." Floyd had turned his head away. "It's best you keep your mouth shut about possessing the power of spirits. Now, go back to the Lily Palace and rest." He turned around. "I will soon leave to hunt down the monster that contaminated the water source. I won't be at the estate during this time. If you need anything, find the head attendant." Roxana had sat by the bed, watching his departing figure. "Please take me with you. My power might be able to help." Floyd stopped in his tracks. "No. Do you know what you looked like when you fainted?" He turned his face. "I never want to see you like that again. Go back and rest now. Unless you want me to carry you all the way back to the Lily Palace." Roxana exhales a heavy breath. "Why did I say that? Did I really think I could do something? How utterly foolish. The Grand Duke is angry. It must be because I forcefully accepted the spirit's power and fainted, causing him too much trouble. What help can this body offer? How pathetic. The servants dot part into 2 rows and bow respectfully. Welcome back, Your Highness. Roxana covers her mouth, her gaze sweeping over the lowered faces. These people were always as cold as ice before. Why are they suddenly so polite? She stops in the middle of the steps. Don't call me Your Highness. Just call me Roxana. The servants look at each other. If you have any needs, please just give the order. The maids crowd forward with just one word from you, that we are willing to do anything. Roxana stands frozen in place. Thank you all. Petria runs from the end of the corridor, her hands clasped tightly against her chest. Lady Roxana, she rushes up and looks her up and down. Are you all right? I heard you fainted. I was so worried. Goodness, you've lost so much weight. Roxana remains silent. Petria has always stayed by my side, just like Rasha. That lips twitch slightly. I'm Fina. Thank you for worrying. Petria is stunned. She claps her hands together. Lady Roxana, aren't you hungry? As long as you say the word, the head chefs are eager to serve you. Everyone wants to do something for you right now. You are the savior who rescued them, not from a plague. Roxana's gaze slightly shifts. So that's why those people acted like that just now. Petria lowers her voice. But I can understand how you feel. It is indeed too much. They treated you so coldly before, and the moment you saved them, their attitude completely changed. I've already scolded them severely. Roxana turns her face. I did what I could. Petria pushes open the door. Please wait a moment. I'll go prepare some tea and snacks right away. Roxana, that sits on the sofa. I'm still a slave. To them, treating me like that before was only natural. Petria pushes a dining cart into the room, the silver tray filled with fruit. Roxana reaches out and touches the fruit. But if my family saw this, they would surely praise me for doing a good job. She picks up a red fruit and eats it. Maybe this is why God let me dream of Brother Egan. Petria says, Lady Roxana, you have a visitor. They are waiting in the drawing room. Roxana looks puzzled. A visitor for me? In the past, only the Grand Duke would come looking for me. Roxana pushes open the heavy wooden doors, her hands clasped in front of her. A teacup steams on the table. An officer sits in the shadows, his leather boots resting on the intricate carpet, his fingertips lightly tapping the armrest. Roxana stops in her tracks, her gaze frozen on the other person's face. The officer remains silent, his facial contours undulating in the light and shadow. Roxana's lips part slightly. Sir Hecton. Knight Commander Hecton Leonardo stands up, his metal armor clinking as he moves. His gaze sweeps over Roxana. Roxana holds her breath, the pressure from him enveloping her entire body. Hecton drops to one knee, his fist pressed against his chest. Hecton Leonardo of the Golden Lion Knights pays his respects to the Princess of Kanta. Roxana's fingertips tremble. This kind of etiquette, this respectful posture, is completely unlike his usual self. Please raise your head, Sir Hecton. I am no princess. Hecton keeps his head bowed, maintaining his posture of loyalty, unmoving. No matter what others say in my heart, that you're the princess. You saved my daughter. You saved our entire family. Otherwise, my family would have already shattered in despair. He suddenly looks up, his gaze burning. I owe you my life. Please allow me to, but offer my knight's oath. Roxana takes half a step back, her hand pressed against her chest. A knight's oath? Sir Hecton, I'm only a slave now. Swearing an oath to me will only bring shame to your family and the knights. Hecton says, I have already obtained everyone's permission. Now, all that is left is your consent. If you do not agree, I will keep waiting for a month or even a year. Roxana's eyes were slightly red, tears welling up at the edges. Her vision gradually blurred. I once had a knight who was as stubborn as you. Robert. He was my escort knight. Whenever I got into trouble, he would always complain that he shouldn't have sworn his oath to me. But he was still my most loyal and reliable knight. Hecton lowered his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. If I could form such a bond with your highness, it would be my honor. Roxana turned her face. The sunlight outlined the bridge of her nose. That heaviness, where even breathing felt like a sin, seemed to dissipate with the wind. She reached out her hand, her fingertips stretching out in the light and shadow. Hecton. He grasped Roxana's fingertips. The Golden Lion Knights swear allegiance to protect the princess and clear the obstacles on the road ahead. The Leonardo family will become your most solid ally. Roxana looked down at him. Thank you. I will remember this oath. Is this long-lost kindness the warmth I have always longed for? Even in a cold, deep well, even though my family has long been separated, am I still humbly praying for light in a corner of my heart? This nameless warmth makes me indulge in this sentiment. It was too precious. That night, she lay awake all night. At dawn, white birds flew over the spire of the mansion. Heavy boots stepped through the corridors. The footsteps hurried and chaotic. Roxana sat up in bed, her long hair falling over her shoulders. She listened closely to the noise outside the window. Why is it so noisy in the early morning? The maids bowed respectfully. Good morning, Your Highness. Roxana walked down the corridor. That title again. What happened? It's very noisy outside. A maid explained, the Grand Duke is leading the Red Spider Knights to subjugate the monsters. That noise is the preparation before departure. It will quiet down soon. Roxana stopped in her tracks. There was not a trace of tension in the air. Even facing monsters, are they not afraid at all? Monsters possess powers that profane the divine. Ordinary soldiers can hardly fend them off unless they are holy knights blessed by divine power. Yet, there wasn't the slightest hint of worry on these people's faces. The maids exchanged a smile. The Grand Duke is leading the army himself. Do you want to go see him off? If you climb the tower of the Lily Palace, you can clearly see the entire Night Order. Roxana fell silent for a moment. All right, the maid led the way, her skirt brushing across the stone steps. Roxana followed closely behind. Walking through the long corridor, the maid pushed open a heavy wooden door. We're here, Your Highness. Roxana stepped onto the terrace, leaning against the railing and looking into the distance, her long hair scattered in the wind, her gaze sweeping over the assembled phalanx below. The knights were lined up neatly, their red uniforms forming a solid mass under the sunlight. The sound of horse hooves echoed on the cobblestone road. Roxana looked down at the square, her pupils shrinking slightly. Floyd sat on horseback, tightening the reins. The Night Order was ready to go, the formation as still as steel. No fear, no blubbering. Roxana suddenly understood. I see, so this is why they don't feel anxious. Floyd raised his long sword high, the tip pointing straight at the sky. With such a leader, people have no choice but to trust and follow. They have no choice but to revere, to be loyal. The carriage axles turned, rolling over the cobblestones. The phalanx slowly moved out of the city gates and disappeared into the distant dust. Roxana stood on high, her hair fluttering in the wind, watching their retreating backs until the noise returned to silence. Petria stepped forward quickly. Lady Roxana. Roxana suddenly snapped back to reality. Petria stopped in her tracks. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. Roxana calmed her breathing. Forgive me. I was distracted just now, drawn in by that majesty and sound. What is the matter? Petria said, someone wants to see you this afternoon. It's Lady Leonardo and her children. Roxana's pupils contracted. I didn't expect them to arrive the very next day. Petria bowed and asked, Lady Roxana, if you are feeling unwell, we can postpone the meeting. Roxana shook her head. I will meet them. The radiance Floyd displayed is changing something. That radiance is truly shaking my heart. Hecton Leonardo's wife, Lady Percy Leonardo. This gentle noblewoman will bring me information I never expected. The crystal chandelier refracted fragmented light, illuminating the spacious drawing room. Lady Percy Leonardo sat in the middle of the couch, two young children snuggled by her side. Roxana pushed open the heavy wooden doors and stood at the threshold, her hands folded in front of her. Lady Percy Leonardo stood up and bowed, taking off her wide-brimmed hat. My respects to you, Your Highness. We have come as promised. The boy waved his arms and cheered loudly. Your Highness, we're here. Roxana looked at Lady Percy Leonardo. I am no longer a princess. Please just call me Roxana. Lady Percy Leonardo said, I heard my husband swore a knight's oath to you. At least to our family, you are a princess. The two children cheered with joy. You are our princess. Roxana started to speak, but Lady Percy Leonardo placed her hand on her chest. Once an oath is made, it cannot be taken back. The children are also ecstatic about this, saying that Torcon finally has its own princess. Roxana froze in place. The stubbornness of the Torcon people truly lives up to its reputation. I surrender. Lady Percy Leonardo handed over a wooden box. Your Highness, please enjoy. I baked some meat. Pies. Roxana lowered her eyes. The tray exuded a greasy aroma. The children cheered on the couch. Mom's meat pies are the best in the world. I can eat too. Roxana stared at the food in front of her, her pupils trembling slightly. Her mother carrying a tray across the greenhouse. Children, the meat pies are ready. Eat them while they're hot. Roxana lowered her eyes. My mother would also occasionally bake meat pies herself. Lady Percy. Leonardo paused, stopping her movements. The corners of Roxana's mouth turned up slightly. Mother would divide the pies among my brothers and me. Those pies were the most delicious food in the world. Lady Percy Leonardo's expression became understanding. She must have had a hard time. Roxana looked out the window. Perhaps. I'm not sure anymore. I am still alive, yet my soul seems to float high above, looking down. At all this, my chest occasionally feels like it's being torn apart, but the pain feels unfamiliar, as if it doesn't belong to me. Sometimes I foolishly think that maybe none of this is real. Lady Percy Leonardo set down the tray. That's not foolish. 3 years ago, my brother died at the hands of monsters. Only then did I understand what true separation of flesh and blood meant. She turned her head. Go on. You two, go over there. The boy and girl cheered and ran away. Roxana lowered her voice. Your brother was also laid to rest in. Lady Percy Leonardo recalled, recovering bodies on the battlefield is no easy task, especially for knights who died fighting monsters. The dead killed by monsters mostly mutate into undead on the spot. Roxana's gaze shifted slightly. Then how does one escape the fate of turning into a monster? Lady Percy Leonardo opened her palms, gesturing a length. Knights carry the sword of Adelia with them. It's about this long. The blade is engraved with the Adelia pattern. Before forging, it must be blessed by a priest. Only a very few people can possess this precious sword. This sword can purify the miasma and let the dead rest in peace. When a comrade begins to mutate, the knight plunges the short sword into their companion's chest. Only this act can end the curse. Roxana's eyes widened. Is that true? Lady Percy Leonardo nodded slightly. That is the final mercy of a Torcon knight, allowing the soul to rest in peace as a human. Roxana lowered her head, her fingertips tightly gripping her skirt. Is that really possible? Lady Percy Leonardo closed her eyes. That is our only solace. The body is placed in an Adelia coffin, and flames rise. Those who had once become undead cannot be buried to rest in peace. They can only be consigned to the flames to return their souls to the gods. Roxana turned her face, her hair hiding her expression. If someone has completely turned into an undead, if they are pierced with that sword, can they still return to the embrace of the gods? Lady Percy Leonardo lowered her gaze. It's hard to say. No one knows if the soul truly finds peace. We can only pray that the gods will not cruelly abandon the souls of the pitiful. Roxana stared into the void, her gaze hollow. My family, if I could, return them all to the embrace of the gods. If only I had this sword, the sword of Adelia. The empty plates were left on the table, crumbs scattered sporadically. Lady Percy Leonardo led her children away, and the doors slowly closed. Roxana sat alone at the end of the long table. Let me think. At this very moment, who is sitting on the throne of Edel Palace? It's not Lucas. He is the crown prince of Gania and cannot leave his own territory for long. Even if it isn't Lucas, there will be someone from the Peller royal family, like David, acting as regent, because the Kanta kingdom is already under Gania's rule. To reclaim the remains of my loved ones from the enemy's grasp, relying solely on my own strength, is absolutely impossible. Roxana lowered her eyes. If it were Floyd, perhaps he could do it, but I cannot ask rashly. He has already given me too much. Sneaking into the Kana royal palace to search the well is by no means an easy task. The slightest carelessness could escalate into a diplomatic conflict between Torcon and Gania. I cannot put the people of Torcon in danger for the sake of my own family. So what I need is a reason that everyone can accept, a fair and justifiable reason. If I make such a contribution, would I then earn the right to request help? Hecton pressed his hand to his chest and bowed his head respectfully. Your Highness, you saved my daughter. Floyd pulled her into his arms, his chin resting against her forehead. Thanks to your Highness, we were able to survive. Roxana interlaced her fingers tightly, her knuckles turning white. From the exertion, if I can contribute to Torcon and simultaneously win both the moral high ground and the right, then I will be able to retrieve my family. Smoke filled the wilderness. Armored soldiers led their war horses through the scorched earth, where ashes were scattered. Several scouts stopped at the edge of a dirt slope, overlooking the devastation. A giant wolf lay dead in the mire, its fur stained with foul blood. Its tongue hung limply, its torso covered in jagged wounds. Heavy boots stepped heavily onto the wolf's head. The sound of bones crushing echoed dully. The captain looked around. Are these monsters cleared out? Keep advancing. Leave no survivors. Ryan wiped the corner of his mouth. Just for this little thing? This thing burned down the whole forest. There's so much dust, I can't even breathe. Floyd crossed his arms, his gaze sweeping over the scorched wilderness. We had no choice. We had to eradicate every place it could hide. The losses are too severe. Dead trees swayed in the ashes. If I could completely control that mad power, I wouldn't have had to burn down the entire forest. He lowered his eyes. I still have a long way to go. Kirschen said, it will take about 3 to 4 years for the forest to recover. We must transport soil from fertile lands and water it frequently. Floyd opened his palms. Forget it. Leave future matters for the future. Thank you for your hard work, everyone. The mission is successfully completed. Let's go. Let's head back and have a feast and drink until we're dead drunk. Sunlight pierced through the lush leaves, the greenery swaying in the breeze. The smoke cleared, leaving only a lingering breeze. Kirschen, riding on his horse, asked, My lord, I have a question. Do you know how the princess of the Lily Palace cured those patients? Ryan said, it must be divine power. If not, how could she cure everyone? Floyd remained silent. At the time in the infirmary, there was no trace of magic. Roxana had collapsed on the cold floor, her long hair disheveled, her breathing weak. Kirschen hesitated before speaking, but if she truly possesses divine power, the Holy See will absolutely not turn a blind eye to her. Divine power. That is something more potent than ordinary magic. It is an omnipotence that can heavily damage monsters. From the rifts poured out countless monsters, their claws tearing apart the city walls. Flames swallowed the banners. Priests and holy knights advanced wave upon wave, their bodies dissipating in white light. Sacrificed countless times on the battlefield. As the number of awakened plummeted, the Empire and the Holy See began to intervene forcefully, taking away anyone with divine power under the guise of management. Armored guards broke into homes, forcibly dragging away crying children. Mothers slumped on the ground, their fingertips grasping vainly at the void. Against their will, they became the living swords of the temple, their remaining lives. Never stepping out of the sanctuary. Ryan looked thoughtful. That's true. The Holy See wants to monopolize all divine power on the continent. They would never let the princess go. That is exactly what is worrying. If it isn't divine power, then what is it? Floyd remained silent. Tree shadows dappled on his armor. Roxana's deep voice spoke. What resides in your body is a spirit. Floyd was puzzled. Are you saying spirits exist right now? She nodded. Exactly. As for those patients, it was a water spirit. Floyd's brows furrowed slightly. Roxana was expressionless. I don't understand how a spirit can stay in your body for so long. That entity is a fire spirit. The sound of horse hooves was hurried. Floyd led his men through the forest. They say the princess is a spirit. The crowd was confused. What spirit? The kind of spirit we know? Floyd pulled the reins, his gaze wandering through the nursery rhymes. Yes. Kirschen tilted his head slightly. You mean those evil creatures residing in earth, fire, wind, and water? Floyd replied, according to the princess, they are not evil creatures. Ryan's face was full of disbelief. Is that princess crazy? A scabbard knocked heavily on his head, the metallic clash echoing through the forest. Ryan covered his head and argued, I'm not bad-mouthing the princess. Please think about it. Her family was brutally murdered, her country was destroyed, and overnight, she went from a princess to a slave. In such a situation, it would be admirable if she could still stay sane. What the princess needs is proper treatment, nothing more. I heard there's a doctor who is very good at communicating with madmen. Bring that person to the princess. Floyd rode his horse forward. You got a lot of nerve daring to say that. Kirschen lowered his gaze. Some say the rifts were created by spirits. Spirits are the monsters themselves. They are deemed evil in some. People don't even believe they exist. But in the surviving literature, there are many positive accounts of spirits. Although these books have all been banned by the Empire, spirits once coexisted with humans. They made the land fertile and brought rain during droughts. Powerful elementals could take spirits into their bodies and directly detonate. Even more formidable power. Ryan leaned closer. Why are you putting on such a serious expression again? The princess is just crazy. Floyd suddenly raised his leg, his iron boot kicking heavily at Ryan's mouth. The warhorse neighed, its scream tearing through the silence of the forest. Kirschen continued, if what the princess says is true, and what's inside her is truly a spirit and not a monster, then spirits are not monsters. They can fight against monsters, just like your flames. Floyd's mouth curved up slightly. Exactly. The princess said this mad entity inside me is also a spirit, a fire. Spirit. Kirshen looked worried. If that's true, the situation will become very dangerous. Ryan returned to the formation, panting heavily. The Holy See will stop at nothing to make Lord Vidin the only true God. To them, spirits are a thorn in their side. If the Holy See intentionally spread rumors to eradicate elementals, rumors that spirits are evil, Ryan added, they will absolutely not let the princess go. Until now, only Lucas was hunting her. But once the Holy See and the Empire know there is an elemental here, they will definitely launch an attack. It won't just be the princess. Have they forgotten what kind of power the ruler of this country uses? Ryan put his hand to his forehead. If people know what spirits can do, they will also suspect the power the Grand Duke uses. After all, the Grand Cathedral is already almost obsessed with the Grand Duke's flames. Monsters ignore ordinary fire, but the moment they touch the Grand Duke's flames, they scream in agony. The Holy See calls that flame another kind of divine power, and the Magic Tower calls it powerful magic, but no. One has uncovered its true nature. If the Lord were not strong enough and lacked his current reputation, the Holy See would have captured him for experiments long ago. Floyd looked straight ahead. In short, this matter must never leak out of the palace. Even if the truth will eventually come to light, we must ensure the princess's safety for now. Petria's gaze was sharp. This is bad. She stared at the empty wardrobe, a drop of cold sweat seeping from her forehead. Lady Roxana has absolutely no clothes to wear. The weather is only going to get colder. The festival is approaching, and there are only a few thin dresses and cardigans here. His Highness has been far too inconsiderate. Petria frowned deeply. Lady Roxana's body is so weak. What if she catches a cold? This won't do. The headmaid's voice was icy. Do you need money to buy dresses? Petria slowly looked up, her face pale, her lips trembling slightly. The headmaid had her arms crossed, her gaze sharp. Who are you buying dresses for? Petria lowered her head in silence, her fingertips tightly intertwined. The headmaid frowned deeply. Are you trying to buy a dress for that guest in the Lily Palace? Petria's shoulders trembled. Her voice was as faint as a mosquito. Yes. The headmaid closed her eyes. Petria, do you not know? The current situation of the Grand Duke's estate, the polluted water source is just the surface. The real trouble goes far beyond that. In order to catch the monster that polluted the water, the entire forest was burned down. The people who originally lived in the forest are about to flood into the capital. The funds of the Grand Duke's estate must all be used to resettle these refugees. At a time like this, you actually want to buy dresses? It's too reckless. Petria lowered her head, wringing her hands tightly. But, headmaid, even if we don't buy gowns, the princess needs warm clothes. She has just recovered. What if she catches a cold? A trace of wavering flashed across the headmaid's profile. If this were a few days ago, I would have pretended not to hear such words. But hearing that the guest of the Lily Palace saved the people who collapsed from the polluted water, she relaxed her tense shoulders. Take it, Petria suddenly looked up, her eyes sparkling. Several silver coins fell into her palm, bearing the engraved crest of the family. The headmaid said, I don't want to be too ruthless, but right now we really must cut back on expenses. Petria stood dumbfounded, holding the coins. She bowed respectfully. Thank you, headmaid. The headmaid watched her. Such a naive child. That princess is, after all, just an outsider. She will leave here sooner or later. We shouldn't waste so much money on her. Petria pushed the door and left, her footsteps brisk. This money is only enough to buy one coat and 2 dresses. The headmaid slumped onto the piano bench, pressing her palm to her forehead. Perhaps I was too stingy just now. After all, the Grand Duke values that guest very much. I was too anxious. Her gaze darkened. The real trouble is not in the Lily Palace. A courtyard full of blooming flowers flashed in her memory. That was the pride of the Hills family, a masterpiece cultivated with blood, sweat, and tears. The vibrant petals turned into withered leaves. The once lush archway was left with only dry branches. That garden has been completely destroyed. Everything is ruined. The Hills territory is adjacent to the Grand Duke's palace. When dark magic polluted the water source, the territory's garden bore the brunt of it. It's all because of that damn monster. Now, not even a single blade of grass can grow. There is only the stench of oat. The headmaid lowered her eyes, tears welling up in them. More than my son being knighted, my garden receiving the spirit's blessing brought me greater joy. That is the highest honor for a gardener. A garden where even spirits would stop and linger. She covered her face with her hands, her body trembling slightly. I don't know what to do. I don't even know. who I can turn to for help. Sunlight filtered through the curtains of the Lily Palace. The white gauze curtains swayed gently. Roxana lowered her eyes. No matter how I think about it, I am powerless here. I finally have a goal: to recover the remains of my loved ones. Although I want to use the power of the spirits, I cannot curse more people to be harmed by dark magic just for this wish. What should I do to get the Grand Duke to help me? Alice pressed her fingertips against the corner of her lips. Princess, a woman's weapon is her beauty. There's no need to wield a sword yourself. You just need to seduce a man and make him your sword. Rather than learning swordsmanship, it's better to learn how to seduce Lucas. For instance, you could pretend to be drunk and barge into Lucas's room and lie on his bed. Roxana's gaze was icy. Is this the method you used to win Lucas's heart? Is this how you turned him into your sword, to have him deal with my family? She remained silent for a long time, then slowly stood up. Don't be consumed by hatred. Don't harbor negative thoughts. Roxana stood in the middle of a wooden tub, her feet trampling on the piled-up clothes. Water splashed everywhere, soaking the hem of her thin dress. The maids exclaimed on the terrace. Oh my God, the water was bone-chillingly cold, her toes turning white in the freezing water. Roxana panted heavily, her chest heaving violently. Muscles that had never been used began to ache. Distracting thoughts gradually faded away with the loss of physical strength. An axe split the firewood, sawdust flying in the air. Roxana sat on the grass, resting her chin on her hand. Father, why do you do this kind of work? Her father wiped the sweat from his forehead. Physical labor is indeed exhausting, but whenever I feel upset, pushing my body to the point of extreme exhaustion makes my mind go completely blank. Roxana looked up, her gaze clear. A smile touched her father's lips. Throw away your worries one by one and go to sleep with a clear head. Only then will you have the strength to wake up tomorrow and continue fighting those anxieties. If you have worries, go chop wood or wash clothes. Doing unfamiliar work like me can help you temporarily escape the pain. Roxana looked at the tree stump under the moonlight. But can this really solve the problem? What if it can't be solved? Her father tilted his head back. At least you'll be so tired that you'll fall asleep without even dreaming. Roxana stepped her feet into the water, the splashes churning continuously. Is that really true, father? But tonight I want to dream. The maids gathered by the corridor, looking worried. We should stop her. Roxana mechanically repeated her movements. I hope my family will appear in my dreams. I hope none of this ever happened. She gasped for air. I hope to fall into a dream where no one died and never wake up again. I am truly weak and foolish. I couldn't even protect my family. An armored hand suddenly grabbed her wrist. Roxana's body stiffened. She slowly turned her head, her gaze meeting the man. Behind her, Floyd looked gloomy. Who told you to do this? Tell me. Roxana lowered her eyelashes. No one. Floyd tightened his grip on her wrist, unconsciously applying more force. Roxana said, no one forced me, but someone has to do it. Floyd roared, this shouldn't be. Something you do. Roxana raised her head, her gaze icy. Then what should I do? I can't heal the wounded, and I can't join the subjugation squad. Now I can't even wash clothes? Floyd was stunned. Roxana violently shook off his hand. What exactly can I do here? Floyd stood in silence, his gaze sweeping over her feet, soaking in the wooden tub. The freezing water covered her ankles. You don't need to do anything. You don't have to do a single thing. He reached out and lifted Roxana up entirely. Roxana's body hung in the air, water droplets falling from her toes. She suddenly widened her eyes. Your Highness, I can walk by myself. Floyd took a step forward. His armor made a muffled sound in the corridor. Your feet cannot walk. The maids retreated to the wall in terror, with both hands covering their chests. Their eyes closely followed the two. Roxana shrank into Floyd's arms, her fingers gripping his shoulder blades tightly. If you keep carrying a slave around, what will others think? Floyd looked straight ahead, his pace steady. Why should I care what they think? As if they dare to run their mouths in front of me. Roxana held her breath, her gaze falling on his profile, her fingertips curling slightly. Floyd pushed open the door and gently placed Roxana on the armchair. The metal armor rubbed against the seat. Roxana sat in the chair. He really carried me all the way to the bedroom. Her body trembled violently. Her gaze was fixed downward. Floyd's large palm lifted her heels. His fingertips touched the cold skin, his movements slow. Only faint breathing sounds remained in the room. Roxana questioned, what are you doing? Floyd held her ankles. Can't you tell? I'm warming your feet. Roxana froze in place. A ruler of a nation personally warming a slave's feet. He's crazy. She tried to pull away. Your Highness, there's no need for this. I'm not cold. Floyd's fingertips massaged her skin. Although Torkon is a warm country, The winters are still cold. These feet have never done heavy labor. Soaking in cold water for too long will cause frostbite. If they aren't warmed in time, they'll have to be cut off. He looked up, his gaze locking onto Roxana. Do you want to see these beautiful feet chopped off? Is it because I refuse to kill you that you are protesting in this way? Roxana looked down at him. So that's what you think. Your Highness still thinks I want to seek death. Floyd increased the pressure of his hands. Is that so? Roxana lowered her gaze. It's not like that. Floyd interrupted her. Then stay still. I am in a very bad mood right now. All because of your feet. Roxana remained silent. I completely don't understand this man. Even if my feet are cold, even if they get cut off, that is my own choice. It doesn't harm him in any way. Why is he angry? His boots were covered in dried mud. His armor was covered in dust. Did he come straight here after finishing the subjugation? Why? I can't see through this man. I don't understand why he's angry. I don't understand why he's so obsessed with warming my body. Roxana sighed softly. I just wanted to help. Ever since I was saved by your Highness, I've only been a burden. I only consume the food here because I want you to need me. These words almost blurted out. I want to be someone useful to you so that you will help me retrieve my family's remains. If she told the truth, she would have to admit to that crazy plan, infiltrating the colony to snatch back the abandoned remains from the Crown Prince. If he knew all this, would the warmth of these hands disappear instantly? I still don't understand this man. Confessing everything when there is no chance of winning is the most foolish act. I must hide the truth. Floyd sat on the edge of the sofa. You eat as little as an ant's eyeball. Do you call that a burden? What I'm worried about is you throwing away your stamina like this, understand? Roxana said, "You're the one who told me to live through this year. Do you want me to just lie in bed, only responsible for breathing, wandering like a ghost, eating and sleeping on time?" Floyd nodded. That sounds nice. Please do exactly that. Live comfortably like a royal daughter. Do whatever you want to do. Roxana stared at him. What I want to do is wash clothes. Floyd frowned slightly. That's impossible. Who in this world will want to wash clothes? Roxana looked away. I tried it. It was very interesting. Cooking and cleaning the kitchen might also be interesting. Cleaning the stables, wiping the floors of the Grand Duke's estate, carrying luggage for noble ladies. As long as it's something a slave should do, I want to do it, and I can do it. Floyd's pupils suddenly contracted. Princess, Roxana shouted, I am Roxana. I am no princess now. I am a slave. She looked straight into Floyd's eyes. Please, stop calling me princess. Floyd gazed at her. She had changed, completely changed. She was angry. A desire to survive ignited in those eyes. That was something she never had when she first arrived here. He suddenly tilted his head back, a laugh escaping his throat. Since you want to do something so badly. The new festival is about to be held in Selsar. That is Torkin's most important festival. Colorful flags fluttered fiercely in the wind. Flyers danced in the sky. Circus tents rose from the ground. The grandest performance has arrived in the royal capital. Let's go together. Go to the circus? Roxana looked up. The circus? Floyd walked towards the door. I'll come pick you up tomorrow. Until then, eat well, princess. Roxana watched his back. You're too good to me. But why won't you agree to my request and stop calling me princess? Floyd turned his face slightly, his gaze deep. Because in all the years I have lived, you are the only princess. Memories blurred in the rain. A young Roxana raised a lace umbrella, standing on her tiptoes to shield Floyd from the wind and rain. That was the only color in his life. You are the only princess I acknowledge. No matter where you are, what you possess, or what kind of mark is branded on your shoulder. To me, you will always be a princess. Roxana's eyes were filled with confusion. The corners of Floyd's mouth curled up into a smile. This is my answer to you. White Dove swept past the estate spire. An exclamation startled the tree shadows. Petria leaned forward abruptly, her hands clenching tightly. You're going to the circus with the Grand Duke? Tomorrow? Roxana placed a hand over her chest, her fingertips trembling slightly, her gaze wandering amidst the flourishing flowers. Yes. Petria stood before the wardrobe. Oh my goodness. Roxana asked, is this really that serious? Petria looked panicked. What should we do? You don't have any clothes suitable for going out. I should have asked the headmaid for more money. Roxana reached out and touched the clothes on the rack. Petria, what do you mean I have no clothes to wear? Look at these clothes you bought for me. She lifted the hem of a skirt. These are more than enough. Petria froze in place. Those are just casual clothes without patterns or lace. Off-the-rack items from a ready-to-wear shop. She couldn't say these words out loud. After all, she bought them herself. Because they had no money, they couldn't custom-make a gown. If other noble ladies see the princess dressed like this, they will definitely mock her. She is more dazzling than those clothes. A maid in the corridor asked with concern, "Petria, what's wrong? Why the long face?" Petria lowered her head in silence. Everyone gathered around. She began to recount what happened. Two maids looked at each other, their expressions hesitant. A black-haired maid turned around. "Wait a minute." She held up a piece of lace. "A noble lady left this behind. Maybe we can use this to decorate the dress. It will look more decent." Another maid said, "I've been collecting beads dropped by the noble ladies. We can sew them onto the hem to make it sparkle." The voices attracted other maids. What happened? Everyone came forward. "We need to decorate a dress for Her Highness. I remember there's still some silk ribbon somewhere." Porters carried wooden boxes across the stone-paved road. Cooks carried trays, chatting and laughing. The market was bustling with crowds. Flags swayed between the eaves. A black-haired man leaned against the edge of the terrace, overlooking the street. They looked very excited. The festival is approaching, so this atmosphere is expected. It won't last long. The entire forest has completely disappeared. Refugees will soon flood into the royal capital. Conflict is inevitable. Before that happens, we must reorganize the guard. The black-haired man's brows furrowed tightly, his teeth biting his lower lip. He lost his balance and fell onto the stone floor. "This damn eye, it's clearly gone. So why does it still hurt? If Ryan sees this, he'll definitely mock my weakness again. Just losing one eye, and I'm struggling so much. What does it truly feel like to lose one's country and family? And to have it destroyed by the most trusted fiancé?" Black wings suddenly spread open, piercing the silent air. Feathers trembled in the light and shadow. The sharp claws, hooked on his sleeve, a small metal tube swayed among the wings. The black-haired man took out the note from the tube. His fingertips exerted force, and the paper crumpled and deformed in his palm. Waves crashed against the reefs. White foam shattered on the beach. The grass beneath the cliff was covered in shadows. Floyd sat by the rock wall, holding a wooden cup in his hand. Kane walked up. "My lord." He snatched the wooden barrel from Ryan's hands, tilted his head back, and gulped down the strong liquor. His Adam's apple bobbed violently, and liquid flowed down the corner of his mouth. Ryan glared at him. "Didn't you see there are spare cups on the barrel?" Kane wiped the liquor stains from the corner of his mouth, his gaze unfocused. "Too lazy." He sat on the grass. "The spies sent to Kanta have sent back a report." Floyd asked, "What did they say?" Kane reported, "A new rift has indeed appeared on the outskirts of Kanta. Monsters are pouring out from inside. The center of the vortex is constantly shrinking, emitting a murky aura. But it is said that the rift only appeared 2 months ago. That is the only rift within Kanta's borders." Floyd sharply turned his head, his gaze like a blade. 2 months? The rumors regarding the fall of the Kanta kingdom are completely different from this. 6 months ago, a rift opened in the Kanta kingdom. Monsters poured out in full force. King Vicentian requested aid from the Gania kingdom. Lucas gripped his long sword tightly. As the fiancé of the Kanta princess, he led the army on an expedition to subjugate the monsters. Lucas swung his sword, slashing at the giant beasts. Their sharp teeth shattered before the edge of his blade. For his fiancé's country, he braved danger alone, defeating the monsters. Lucas returned in triumph. The king was not grateful, but instead attempted to annex their territory. Conflict broke out between the two countries. Lucas lowered his eyes, blood sliding down his sword blade. He had no choice but to personally execute the Flanchet family, who were about to become his family. Floyd sighed softly. That is the official story, but it's hard to believe. Vicentian took me in for free, yet Lucas tortured me for no reason. This logic makes no sense at all. Lucas executed the Flanchet family 6 months ago, but the so-called rift didn't even exist at that time. If the disaster was severe enough to require aid, why send Lucas, who has no experience and no talent in martial arts? Ryan picked up his wooden cup. The liquid sloshed inside. It's almost as if someone specially set up a fake stage just to send Lucas into Kanta. Kane spread his hands. The Kanta kingdom suffering a disaster and the king requesting aid are facts. Even if the rift is fake, the monsters couldn't be fabricated out of thin air. Ryan looked towards the distant sea. The rift is fake. but the monsters are real. This means someone beside Lucas can control monsters. Lucas found an interesting toy that can control monsters, an Esper. I wonder if a piece of trash like him can handle that kind of power. Once it loses control, it will be a danger to us as well. Floyd turned his face slightly, the corners of his mouth curling up. Then let him try. I will catch them and crush them completely from head to toe, leaving nothing behind. Kane asked, should we report this to Her Highness the Princess? Floyd looked towards the sea surface. I'm not sure. Kane pressed on. Wouldn't it be better to tell her? The desire for revenge will ignite her fighting spirit and help her get back on her feet. Floyd stared at the wine barrel. The fact that her fiancé planned to kill her family from the very beginning. Is this an antidote or a poison? I don't know. She has only just regained the will to live. I'm afraid the truth will only destroy her completely. Floyd looked up at the night sky. Everyone keep your mouth shut. When the time is right, I will personally tell her. Petria ran to the window. Lady Roxana. Roxana turned sideways. Good morning, Petria. Petria stopped in her tracks. Good morning, Lady Roxana. She hesitated. Lady Roxana, there are people looking for you outside the door. The other maids say they have something to say to you. Could you please invite them in? The maids slowly walked in, carrying heavy boxes. Sunlight enveloped the estate buildings, and the sound of the fountain's water was gentle. Petria revealed a smile. The other maids bowed slightly. Their gazes met in the quiet room. A gown hung in the center of the wooden rack, interwoven with lace and ribbons. Roxana stared at the dress. What is this? Petria explained, aren't you going out with the Grand Duke tonight? I thought you might need a gorgeous dress. So we took apart the existing old clothes and sewed them little by little into this gown. Roxana was stunned. Lace, ribbons, and translucent beads. In the eyes of nobles, they might be worthless, not even worth a glance. Yet they were the maid's treasured belongings. Now, they offered them to me without hesitation. Petria hurriedly lowered her head. Although it may look shabby to you, my lady, this is the best we can offer. Roxana opened her mouth slightly. It's not shabby at all. This is the first time I've seen something so precious. I don't even know how to express my joy. I never thought I would receive such a gift. She lowered her eyes. Thank you. The maids cheered with joy. That's wonderful. All our efforts were worth it. Petria looked at Roxana. Does my lady know how much we care about you now? At first, no one liked this princess. They frowned and privately called her a slave unworthy of occupying the Lily Palace. But she always remained polite. She never acted arrogantly. Even in moments when she longed for her life to end, she still saved those harmed by the corrupted water, not hesitating to let herself be covered in bruises. She never sought recognition, nor did she ever show off. I really hope people can see what the princess is truly like. So warm and kind. Lady Leonardo stood up abruptly. The Grand Duke invited you to the circus? Just the two of you? Roxana sat by the round table, her fingertips lightly touching her teacup. Yes, Lady Leonardo. She held her cheeks. Oh my heavens, what does this mean? Roxana tilted her head and looked at her, her gaze calm. In Torcon, is a man and a woman going to the circus together. Such a shocking scandal. Lady Leonardo suddenly leaned in, speaking rapidly. Have you decided what to wear? Do you have maids helping you dress up? If you're going out in the afternoon, you need to start preparing right now. Am I taking up too much of your time? Oh, right. Do you have jewelry? Roxana nodded. Yes, I have already chosen my dress. She pointed to the dress rack. I will wear this one. This is what everyone worked hard to prepare for me. Lady Leonardo examined the dress. At a glance, it was obvious that decorations were added to an old skirt. The style was long outdated. The lace stitching was clearly visible, and on the beads, traces of glue still remained. She slowly spoke. I will lend you accessories to make this dress shine. A necklace and hairpins inlaid with blue gemstones will definitely be perfect. Would you be willing to accompany me back to my residence? The carriage stopped in front of the mansion. Sunlight spilled over the white building. The wheels rolled over the smooth road. Lady Leonardo introduced, this is the Leonardo estate. It's very close to the Grand Duke's estate. Roxana looked around. The mansion was not grand, and its outer walls were clean and elegant. A scream tore through the air. I don't like this. Lady Leonardo covered her forehead, her shoulders trembling slightly. A white cloth monster waved its hands, standing there. Don't run. Uera screamed and ran away. It's a monster. Help. Lady Leonardo said, I told you not to play like that. The white cloth monster suddenly lunged forward. Caught you, you little rascal. Roxana froze in place. Cold sweat slid down her cheeks. The white cloth monster lifted the white cloth and burst into loud laughter. Oh my, who grew up so fast? He stood dumbfounded on the spot. Princess, when did you arrive? Welcome. Roxana closed her eyes, pressing her fingers against her lips. Thank you for the welcome. She held back her laughter, almost laughing out loud. Hecton stood up straight and saluted the princess. Roxana smiled. It's a pleasure to see you. Yuera lifted her skirt and curtsied. Princess, please let us show you around our home. Hecton leaned close to his wife, lowering his voice. Why is the princess here? He cried out in surprise. What? Everyone froze in place, falling into dead silence. Hecton wrapped his arm around his wife's shoulders. I was stunned by my wife's beauty. Roxana looked at them. I see. The children held her hands, walking up the stairs. Princess, please come this way. Hecton lowered his voice. Are you sure? You said the Grand Duke invited her to the circus? Lady Leonardo nodded. How could I be mistaken? That's why I brought her here to lend her jewelry. Didn't I tell you? The Grand Duke has feelings for the princess. It's the kind of feeling a man has for a woman. Hecton scratched the back of his head, sweat seeping from his forehead. All his close confidants know he despises women. The evening glow dyed the treetops red. Flower shadows fell before the window. Floyd walked through the corridor. We're going to the village. Prepare for departure. The butler asked, will you be riding a horse? Floyd stopped in his tracks. Prepare a carriage. He pondered, a carriage is more suitable for the princess than riding a horse. Speaking of which, on the day I rescued the princess, I rode the warhorse Red Hair. Red Hair has a fiery temper and lets no one ride it but me. Even the commander of the royal guard finds it hard to get close. Why did it let the princess obediently ride on its back that day? Floyd sat on the sofa, his head buried deep. Is it because I was holding her? Footsteps approached. Roxana slowly walked in. Floyd raised his eyes, his gaze freezing. Roxana walked through the archway. She stopped, her gaze calm. Floyd looked at her, his pupils trembling slightly. Roxana was confused. Why are you looking at me with that expression? Is my dress inappropriate? The ladies worked so hard to help me dress up. She slowly spoke. Did I do something wrong? I was just wondering if I misunderstood what you meant. You said you wanted me to serve you like a slave. Floyd leaned back. What are you talking about? If you mention the word slave again, I will throw frogs at you. Please conduct yourself with dignity. Roxana stood dumbfounded. How did you know I hate frogs? Floyd said, you just look like that kind of person. Roxana touched her own face. My face? Is there really a face that looks like it hates frogs? The corners of Floyd's mouth curled upwards. He reached out his hand. Roxana stared at the palm extended before her. What does this mean? Floyd stood up. Are you trying to embarrass me? Roxana offered her hand. Is this a custom of Torcon? Floyd tightly grasped her hand. Shall we depart? Colorful flags hung all over the streets. The setting sun dyed the rooftops red. Floyd led Roxana into the crowd. Passers-by turned their heads to look. Roxana looked around. Why are there no torches? Yet the streets are so bright. Floyd walked beside her. It's because of magic stones. Torcon doesn't sell the low-grade magic stones obtained from hunting monsters. Instead, they are used here. Roxana looked up, gazing at the flickering points of light. I heard that even low-grade magic stones can be sold for a high price. Torcon is truly amazing. It's not just nice. It's really beautiful here. Floyd looked at her. It's really strange. Just by changing her clothes, she looks like a completely different person. When I saw her in the drawing room, I clearly didn't have this feeling. Time seemed to stand still. She was no longer the woman who had lost everything, but the princess who had shed her. Immaturity. Floyd tightened his grip on Roxana's hand. The warmth of her blood transmitted to his palm. This inexplicable sense of tranquility was incomprehensible. Hecton stood behind the two, his thick beard twitching along with the corners of his mouth. He patted his chest. You two are a perfect match. I will protect you perfectly. Please enjoy yourselves to the fullest. Floyd's face darkened, his gaze cold. Do you plan on following us for the entire festival? Hecton grinned. Of course. I have sworn loyalty to the princess. Protecting her is my bounden duty. Roxana lowered her head. Is the festival really dangerous? Hecton said, what if some scoundrel targets the princess? Although the Grand Duke is powerful, the more guardians, the better, right? Floyd nodded. He is right. Hecton ran happily ahead. Let's go. I'll keep an eye on you until the end. Floyd frowned deeply. Why does this guy look so excited? A huge striped tent stood in the center of the lawn. The main attraction of the festival, the circus performance. The ringmaster waved his arms. Tickets for sale. Tickets for sale. Lord Grand Duke, thank you for always coming to support us. Roxana's gaze fell on a distant iron cage. What kind of animal is that? Hecton explained, that is a wolf. It was specially transported here for the circus performance. A young wolf curled up in the corner of the wooden cage. Roxana fell into thought, forced to leave its family just like that, all alone. I'm no different from it. Floyd handed over the tickets. Let's go in, princess. Hecton reached out his hand. Your Highness, where's my ticket? Floyd walked straight past him. Buy it yourself. In the center of the stage, the lights gathered. The performers lifted their skirts and bowed elegantly. The cheers almost blew the roof off. Lucas, I must tell the princess that bastard orchestrated the downfall of the Kana kingdom. I don't know when, where, or in what way to tell her to lessen the impact. Hesitation doesn't suit me. It's really strange. Once it involves the princess, everything becomes so difficult. The audience raised their hands, shouting fanatically. Roxana sat in the front row of the stands, her gaze blank. On stage, a throwing knife sliced through the air, accurately pinning the apple on the wooden board. Hecton marveled. I haven't seen that face before. He's a newcomer, but very skilled. Floyd leaned against the wooden chair. That's nothing at all. The magician pulled down his top hat. Between his fingers, he held a blade. The corners of his mouth curled into a smirk, his eyes locked dead onto a certain spot in the stands. Roxana sat in the stands, her gaze freezing. Donji, the magician raised his arm, his fingertips gripping a dagger, and violently thrust it forward. The blade tore through the air, shooting straight towards Floyd. Floyd lunged sideways, pulling Roxana into his arms and dropping down. Hecton grabbed the dagger, blood dripping down the blade. I am right behind you. The magician turned and fled behind the curtain. Damn it. The woman on the spinning wheel looked shocked. What happened? Hecton took a step, shoving aside the screaming audience. That bastard. The crowd fell into chaos, pushing and screaming. There's blood. Don't push me. Get out of the way. Floyd held Roxana's shoulders and looked down to check on her. Are you hurt? Roxana gripped his collar tightly, her fingertips trembling. I'm Euphina. What on earth happened? Floyd's mouth curled into a smirk, his eyes ice cold. There's always someone who wants my life. Disguising as a circus performer to infiltrate. Truly persistent. Roxana stared at his smile. He almost lost his life. How can he be so calm? Floyd held a silver whistle in his mouth and blew it forcefully. The sharp whistle sound pierced through the theater. The knights will be here soon. Can you stand steady? Hecton walked into the large tent. He got on a horse from the stables and escaped. The knight's order is pursuing him. He won't be able to leave the city gates. The ringmaster knew nothing about this. He is currently devastated because his beloved troop member turned out to be an assassin. Floyd's eyes were ice cold. I have summoned the knights. Interrogate every audience member and performer. We must find out how long this was planned and who the mastermind is. Hecton took the order. Yes, sir. Roxana stood to the side, her fingers tightly gripping the hem of her dress. They seem to be used to this kind of scene. Is it my illusion? Floyd stopped in his tracks. Your Highness the Princess. Roxana looked up. What is it? Floyd extended his hand, palm up. Let's go. The waves crashed against the beach, the sound of the water fine and continuous. The two strolled along the seaside with steady steps. Roxana pulled down the brim of her hat, her gaze falling on Floyd's profile. Having just encountered an assassination attempt, he actually still had the mood to come here. Was he really Al, right? His footsteps showed no hesitation, as if the darkness here was his true home. He looked as though he had intended to come here to handle matters from the very beginning. Floyd turned his head. I like this kind of place, because when enemies appear, I can use my power without any scruples. Roxana held her breath. He seemed to have seen right through her. Floyd stopped his steps. Here, he spread a blanket on the sand. Seat. Roxana looked at him. Do things like today happen often? Floyd recalled. Once every few months, sometimes 3 or 4 times a month. Roxana's eyes widened. That frequent? Floyd's eyes were cold. There are many people who want to make me kneel. He paused. Those who want to kill me and seize Torkon. For example, Prince Lucas of Gania. Roxana's pupils shrank. Lucas. He indeed loathed the Grand Duke. Even so, I once thought he wouldn't murder his half-brother. Lucas. Sitting on the throne in the shadows, he crossed his legs, his fingers resting against his jaw. Open it and take a look. You should also know what happened to your family. Roxana lowered her head, shadows covering her cheeks, cold sweat sliding down her neck. But now I know he is entirely capable of doing such a thing. Floyd hesitated. The spies in Kana have sent news. How much should I tell you, Your Highness? A rift appeared there. Monsters poured out, causing heavy casualties. Gania won't just sit back and watch. They don't want the land they worked so hard to conquer to be polluted by demonic energy. They will quickly form an order of knights to go on a subjugation mission. Roxana spoke up. Khan's knights will also be sent there because this is a perfect opportunity to eradicate the knights loyal to the Flanchet family. As long as they throw the Khanta knights in a monster horde, they will have to fight to the death to survive. Gania can then take the opportunity to control the survivors and turn them into their own hands and feet. The loyal knights will fight desperately, only to meet death in the end. Floyd turned his face. I am surprised. She's right. This is the method of dealing with the kingdom's loyalists. There's no need to do it themselves. Just throw them into a national crisis, and they will for the sake of duty. They'll march towards death. She instantly saw through the cruel reality without any wavering. His worry that she would break down was superfluous. In that case, it's time to tell her the truth. Floyd spoke. I have something to tell you. Half a year ago, Lucas was able to lead his army into Khanta because of that rift. Nominally, it was to subjugate the monsters pouring out of the rift, but in reality, that rift did not exist. Roxana trembled violently. Everything was planned from the very beginning. Gania has a dark mage lurking within, someone who can freely control monsters. Floyd was somewhat surprised. She accurately deduced the hypothesis that Kirshen and I had come up with, based on just 2 pieces of information. Roxana lowered her gaze. So, that's why Father welcomed Lucas and his army without hesitation. Lucas exploited that trust. While I was in the artifact room, monsters attacked Khanta. If Lucas appeared with his army, claiming to be there to help, Father would definitely welcome them wholeheartedly, because he was my fiancé, someone who was about to become family. Lucas exploited that trust, and along with his knights, murdered my entire family. Alice, what role did you play in this? Everyone in the Flanchet family was. Slaughtered on the same day because they all happened to be gathered in the palace that day. So that's how it was. The waves violently crashed against the reef, white foam splashing. The sound of the water was deafening. Floyd looked up at the surging sea. The wind is getting stronger. We must return to the city immediately. The waves rushed high into the sky. Floyd furrowed his brows, sweat seeping up from his forehead. This kind of power. Roxana's eyes were cold. Now I understand. The person who coincidentally gathered everyone together to be killed was Alice. Alice, Lucas, the 2 of you deceived my family, chopped off their heads, and threw their bodies into the well. A column of water burst through the sea surface, the roaring sound, shattering the dark night. Alice was the daughter of a criminal. Her father, Duke Halles, was once the Minister of Finance of the Khana Kingdom and an old friend of King Vicentian IV. He squandered half of the national treasury, indulged in gambling, accepted bribes, and used his position to frantically amass wealth. The king sat by the window, his hands tightly clasped, looking down at the desk. This pains me. Even sitting on the throne, I am still human. He could not bring himself to execute his old friend and chose another path. All the properties and titles of the Halles family were confiscated, and the entire clan was exiled to a barren land. Many protested that the punishment was too light, but Father did not change his mind. Alice, the youngest daughter of the Halles family. Roxana knelt at her father's knees. Please let Alice stay in the palace. If you let her be my personal maid, no one will complain. She is my precious friend. I beg you. Alice stood in the shadows, her gaze icy. Your Highness, you shouldn't have saved me in the first place. You shouldn't have shown me mercy. You should have let me die with my family. The Halles family encountered bandits on their way to exile, and the entire clan was brutally massacred. Alice, after that, you should have just killed me. You should have left me there. If you had, your family wouldn't have been killed nor thrown into that well. Roxana stood amidst the torrential currents, her long hair whipping wildly in the wind. Do you really think so? Was saving you a mistake? Alice covered her face and wept bitterly. Your Highness, my family was all killed, wiped out by bandits. But it weren't for you, I would have died too. Thank you. Roxana hugged Alice, her fingertips running through the other's red hair, tears sliding down her cheeks. At that time, shouldn't I have saved you? The giant waves explosively shattered, and a column of water pierced the night sky. Floyd let out a muffled groan, his arm shielding his forehead. Roxana wondered, what exactly did she say to gather all my family together? Was it to celebrate my return, or to prepare a pre-wedding surprise party? If so, Ian and Nafred would have definitely rushed over. And Lonnie and my parents. Everyone who treated Alice as family would have believed her words. Roxana's pupils contracted. That's right, you killed them all and chopped off their heads. You threw them into the cold well. Down there, they couldn't even smell Adelia's perfume. Floyd looked up and shouted, Your Highness. He suddenly lunged towards Roxana, wrapping his arms tightly around her and locking her in his embrace. Roxana's eyes widened, her gaze freezing. The giant wave crashed down with a boom, kicking up a sky full of water mist, submerging the two of them into the churning surf. The water's surface gradually calmed. Roxana lay on her back in the water, her gaze unfocused. I'm sorry. Floyd looked at her, his gaze complex. He sat on the beach. Why apologize? Roxana said. If your grace hadn't stopped me, my power would probably have completely spiraled out of control. To let you see me in such a state, it was my immaturity. The spirits responded to my emotions. They acted on their own. Floyd chuckled softly. Roxana froze in place. What is it? Floyd covered his forehead, his laughter gradually subsiding. I never thought I would feel a sense of resonance over something like this. Whether it's you or me, there are dangerous things lurking within us. You'll catch a cold. Let's head back. Moonlight spilled over the lake, the waves shimmering. Ryan lay indoors, his hands behind his head, humming a tune. Tomorrow, I'm going to the festival with Roeli. Kane asked, Who is Roeli? Ryan replied, The lovely lady of the Litsan family, Roeli. Kane stopped what he was doing. What about the brown-haired girl we saw last time? Ryan closed his eyes. We broke up a long time ago. Kane stared at him. It hasn't even been a month. Ryan smiled. A month is already a long time, little brother. You can't waste too much time on one woman. There are too many who want me, but too little time. Today, a raven flew in from Kanta. What did it say? Kane explained. After listening, Ryan downed his strong liquor. It seems Lucas deliberately deceived his fiancée's family. How pitiful. Does Her Highness know? The princess. Kane said, The Lord told me to keep my mouth shut. You keep your mouth shut too. How pitiful. Does Her Highness know? The princess. Kane said, The Lord told me to keep my mouth shut. You keep your mouth shut too. Ryan rested his chin on his hand. How boring. If the princess used that strange power to exact revenge, it would definitely be interesting. The silver-haired man tightly gripped his wine glass. Don't underestimate it. That laughable power, that is completely incapable of achieving revenge. Kane narrowed his eyes. Does Arsene hate her? It's indeed difficult relying solely on her power. But what if the Lord helps her? Arsene jerked his head up. Nonsense. Torkhan doesn't need to add unnecessary sacrifices. Ryan spread his hands. Just saying. Can't even take a joke. Arsene tilted his head back and chugged his drink. Jokes aren't allowed either. Ryan made a face. You stiff bastard with no sense of humor. If you frown any harder, your eyebrows will curl to the back of your head. Maybe you'd look a bit more handsome that way. Arsene put down his glass. Do you want to get thrown out? Hecton stepped through the door, carrying a basket in his hand. Are you two arguing again? He placed the basket on the table and lifted the covering cloth. A small head peeked out from the basket. Everyone gathered around. Is it a puppy? How cute. Kane reached out his hand, tentatively approaching. Hello there. The cub suddenly let out an angry roar. Ryan clapped his hands and laughed loudly. Oh my, you got rejected. Kane was puzzled. This isn't a dog, it's a wolf, isn't it? Hecton scratched his cheek. Cute, isn't it? Got it from the circus. Ryan asked, what do you plan to do? Are you going to raise a wolf with your kids? Hecton shook his head. I don't plan to raise it. How about letting Arsene raise it? Doesn't he like animals a lot? Arsene raised his hand. I'm sorry, I already have 3 dogs. I don't have the energy to take care of another one. Although I could squeeze out some space, wolves and dogs that probably won't get along. He sighed. There's really nothing to be done. Ryan asked, so are we keeping it or not? Soaked leather shoes stepped indoors. Drops of water slid down his trouser legs and splashed onto the floor. Floyd stood at the doorway, his shirt completely wet and clinging to his body. What are you all gathered? Here for? A few of them stepped forward. Did you go swimming under the moonlight again? You didn't set a fire and jump into the sea, did you? Floyd's face darkened. No, something happened. The cub lowered its body, emitting a low growl from its throat. Floyd reached out his hand. Why is there a puppy here? The cub suddenly leaped up, its sharp teeth biting into his finger. Everyone exclaimed, Lord Grand Duke. Floyd suddenly reached out and grabbed the cub by the back of its neck, lifting it into the air. The cub stuck out its tongue, its 4 limbs kicking wildly, its eyes dazed. Floyd frowned. What the hell is this thing? What's with this fierce mutt? The circus tent stood in the night, a faint blue light shrouding the canopy. The ringmaster, wearing a tall hat, had tears streaming down his cheeks. I'm completely finished. The centerpiece of the festival turned into a total mess, and someone even tried to assassinate. The Grand Duke, right in my circus. An acrobat bent down. Don't lose heart, ringmaster. At least you've been proven innocent. The acrobat pointed to the iron cages. Ringmaster, should we move these back to the tent? The ringmaster lowered his eyes. Move them back. Hecton pointed to a cage. I want to take a wolf cub. The ringmaster nodded repeatedly. Of course, take as many as you want. Please take them all, as long as the investigation can be concluded as soon as possible. Hecton flipped a gold coin. The coin spun in the air. I don't need that many, just one. The ringmaster pinched the gold coin, his gaze turning to the iron cage. What exactly did that night? Take? 3 cubs were curled up in the cage, breathing steadily. They're all here. Hecton explained, this is a gift for the princess. I noticed earlier that the princess seemed particularly interested in this one. Floyd was deep in thought. Is that so? She did indeed look this way. Since Hecton is the only one among us who married for love, he should understand a woman's heart better than anyone. Floyd confirmed again. So, the princess wants this? Hecton smiled. Yes, want it very much. Floyd stared at the cub. It's too fierce. What if it hurts the princess? She is so frail. Ryan was puzzled. How could such a small thing possibly eat the princess? Arson spoke up. I object. This wolf cub has lost its parents and needs careful tending. Therefore, I will take it and raise it. Hecton's eyes widened. Didn't you just say you couldn't handle it? Arson turned his face away. Then I'll try to handle it. Ryan stood aside. His intentions are practically overflowing. Hecton spread his palms. Raising a living creature can become a glimmer of light in one's heart. The princess might be in need of exactly this kind of comfort right now. Floyd fell silent. Kane leaned in. These kinds of beasts are sharper and react more swiftly than humans. If trained properly, it will become an excellent guard for the princess. Petria watched Roxana's silhouette. Ever since seeing the Grand Duke yesterday, the princess has become very strange. Did something unpleasant happen? But the Grand Duke couldn't possibly be disrespectful to the princess. Roxana lowered her eyelids. Yesterday, I showed a pathetic side of myself in front of him. When the Grand Duke revealed the truth, my hatred towards Lucas and Alice completely spiraled out of control. Ever since I used Undine's power, the spirit's reactions to my emotions have become increasingly intense. Roxana stared at her hands, her fingertips trembling slightly. The Grand Duke is different from me. He uses his power to protect others, while I only want to, not destroy all of this. Petria froze in place, cold sweat sliding down her cheek. Her pupils trembled. What is this? The princess is emitting an icy aura that makes one shudder. A knock sounded on the door. Roxana snapped back to reality. I almost drowned in those dark emotions again. Floyd stepped into the room, carrying a woven basket in his hand. Good morning, princess. I brought something for you. Roxana tilted her head slightly. For me? Movement came from under the cloth. A wolf cub peeked its head out, its paws gripping the edge of the basket. It kicked off the basket and leaped into the air. Floyd froze in place. This little bastard dares to. Attack the princess. The wolf cub landed on Roxana's lap, retracting its claws and teeth. It curled up its body, its tail sweeping across her skirt. It laid with its belly facing up, letting out a tender bark. Floyd lowered his gaze, his eyelids twitching. Petria cupped her cheeks. So cute. Roxana stroked the wolf cub's back. What is this? Floyd explained. Hecton brought it back. So it's a gift for you. If you're willing, you can keep it. Roxana lowered her eyes. Sir Hecton noticed. How surprisingly thoughtful. Little one, I originally thought I wouldn't be able to raise you. Since you've come to my side, I will do my best to take care of you. In Torcon, I have received too much. My plan still requires the Grand Duke's power, but I will never harm Torcon. I want to use my power for this country and its people, if this can make me. Valuable. If this allows me to borrow the Grand Duke's authority to return my family to the embrace of the gods, then I will finish everything else with my own hands. The revenge will be executed by me personally. All the hatred and resentment belong to me alone. Lucas, Alice, wait for me. I will personally. Snappy necks. Alice suddenly opened her eyes, panting heavily. Lucas lay on the pillow beside her, breathing evenly. Alice's eyes widened, her pupils trembling. That dream again. That nightmare again. A pitch-black forest densely packed with trees, without a single ray of sunlight. No matter how far she ran, she couldn't escape. Countless eyes peered from the darkness. Traitor, daughter of a sinner, treacherous liar. Heaven will punish you. I will personally take revenge. No one will come to take revenge on me. Roxana is already dead. At that moment, Roxana's soul, that was completely extinguished. I watched with my own eyes as those eyes, which always sparkled with a clear light, completely dimmed. Then why? Why are those eyes still pressing down on me? Alice gripped her hair tightly, her fingertips digging into her scalp. Her body curled up and trembled, letting out soft whimpers. Lucas propped himself up, his gaze falling on Alice's face. Why are you awake so early? Tear stains hung at the corners of Alice's eyes. Her hands tightly clutched the edge of the blanket. Your Highness, I had a terrible dream. That woman turned into a monster and was chasing me. Lucas let out a soft chuckle. My little fairy is such a coward. That woman couldn't even touch a single finger of yours. Right now, she's either a slave in some faraway place or already dead. Alice sobbed and closed her eyes. How pitiful. She used to be so good to me. Lucas brushed the corner of her eye. Your heart is too soft. I have a gift that will cheer up your gloomy mood. Alice opened her eyes, tears clinging to her eyelashes. What gift? Lucas chuckled softly. That's right. I promise you will definitely like it. Lucas leaned in and whispered, Kintron, you are now the Lord of Kintron. Alice's eyes suddenly widened. Her hands tightly gripped her chest, her breathing halting for a moment. Your Highness. Lucas looked at her and burst into loud laughter. Are you that happy? Alice threw herself into Lucas's arms, the corners of her mouth curling up. Of course I'm happy. My master listened to the wish of a lowly person like me and even fulfilled it. How could I not be happy? Lucas stroked her long hair. Call me master. You really know how to speak sweet words. But do you really want to go to Kintron yourself? I would much rather you stay in this palace and become my wife. Alice lowered her eyelids. This palace, the Emerald Palace. Outwardly, it's a guest house, but in reality, it's a harem where the king's mistresses reside. It is not the residence of the crown princess. The Ruby Palace. From the moment he placed me here, I knew I couldn't fully trust this man. Who knows how many women he has hidden here? Alice stood up. Of course I want to stay by your Highness's side every day, but I must go. Kintron is now a colony of Gania. If someone like me, who comes from Kintron, want to stand proudly by your Highness's side, I need power. I don't want to just be a vine clinging to your Highness. I want to become someone who supports your Highness. Lucas's eyes flashed. Alice, my clever fairy, to think such determination is hidden beneath this lovely face. Truly a perfect woman. Alice's eyes were sharp. Lucas, I will absolutely not rot away in this Emerald Palace, waiting for your pity. I will become the Queen of Gania, climb to greater heights, and become a radiant, noble woman. That's right, just like Roxana. Roxana opened her eyes, her gaze cold. You want to become like me, with such a traitor? Alice jolted awake, cold sweat seeping from her forehead. Roxana's relatives asked, we're preparing a surprise party to celebrate Roxana's return. Will she be the happiest? Alice, do you have any ideas? A hand reached out from the pool of blood, its fingertips trembling. Alice, why? Alice bit her lower lip tightly, cold sweat soaking her back. Lucas leaned over, his hand clasping the back of her head. Alice was shocked. I am trembling. He actually wants to kiss me at a time like this. Wake up. I can't cry. That's not the look this man wants to see. She squeezed her eyes shut, allowing Lucas to kiss her. Lucas is my only lifeline right now. If I don't act according to his preferences, I could be discarded at any moment. Until I obtain true power, I absolutely cannot slack off. Getting Kintron is only the first step. No matter what price I have to pay, I will climb higher. Roxana, I will definitely surpass you. Roxana stood in the courtyard, her hands folded in front of her. It is already deep winter now. Torkin's winter is only as cold as Kanta's early winter, yet everyone is complaining about the cold and urging me to wear more clothes. How strange. Is it because the climate is warm? It's truly incredible that flowers are in full bloom in Torkon during the middle of winter. I need to make a change, at least before spring arrives. She let out a long breath. Her body was very relaxed, but her heart was anxious. She sat by the stone table in the courtyard. Alice and Lucas have a dark mage by their side, and an extremely powerful one at that. In contrast, I can't even control my own spirits. My intellect is constantly swayed by my emotions, leading to breakdowns or draining my stamina and falling unconscious. The wolf cub nuzzled into her arms, its nose rubbing against her palm, its tail swishing. Roxana held it. Come on, tell the truth. Why are you only so affectionate with me? For your sake, I need to pull myself together too. Footsteps came from behind. Someone was entering the courtyard. Leon jerked its head up and barked. Roxana turned around. Who is that? The head maid stood in the distance. Roxana felt puzzled. Is there something you need? The head maid lowered her gaze, hesitating. She raised her head again, her hand resting against her chest. Pardon my intrusion. I am Edlin. Sears. Roxana froze. Petria had mentioned this name. She was the headmaid. Roxana stood up and nodded slightly. Nice to meet you. I am Roxana. Is there something you wish to say to me? The headmaid averted her gaze, her brows furrowing slightly. Roxana looked doubtful. What is she hesitating about? The headmaid suddenly looked up, cold sweat sliding down her temples. She spread her hands, pointing to the garden full of flowers. What did you do to this garden? Roxana stood stunned, her gaze blank. What? In the distance, on the terrace, Arson slowly walked over. The slave of the Lily Palace and the headmaid. What kind of combination is this? Roxana stood side by side with the headmaid. Arson's gaze fell on Leon, his pupils suddenly contracting. A round body, a happy expression, glossy fur. It seems she's taking good care of it. Leaving it to her shouldn't be a worry. Arson turned to leave. He suddenly stopped in his tracks, then turned back, looking down at the wolf cub, Leon. Arson sighed. He knelt on one knee, looking down at Leon, his gaze playful. You're still as disobedient as ever. Leon froze in place, its mouth slightly open, then turned and walked away. Arson clicked his tongue, his gaze following Leon's figure. It's fine. Young things are always impolite. The White Palace stood tall in the sunlight. Roxana steadied her wrist, the teacup gently landing on the saucer. Please have some tea. The headmaid sat on the sofa opposite her. Thank you. Her gaze was fixed on the other person. Rumor has it she was once a princess. Her every movement is indeed elegant. Her posture is proper, and her attitude is graceful and humble. No wonder the servants of the Lily Palace all like her. She stared at Roxana's plain clothes. What pity. If she changed into a color-shifting gown paired with gold and emerald jewelry, that would be truly stunning. The headmaid suddenly snapped back to reality. My occupational habit is acting up again. Roxana set down her teacup. You mentioned earlier that you had some questions about the garden. The headmaid nodded. Yes. She leaned forward, her gaze burning. I'll get straight to the point. What is the secret to the garden being so beautiful? Roxana sat stunned. That wasn't me. It's the gardener's credit. The headmaid shook her head. That is not the gardener's ability. Even they themselves are amazed. Only the Lily Palace is in full bloom in the dead of winter. Please tell me, how did you make the flowers bloom in this kind of weather? Roxana remained silent. I didn't even know that flowers shouldn't bloom in this season. Her pupils trembled. Could it be because we were together? Light burst forth in the air, and fine sound surrounded the room. Because they wanted Floyd to see something pretty. The children worked hard with the help of the earth spirits. The spirits gave the garden life, just like the vase of flowers you wear gave me. But how should I explain this? The headmaid lowered her head. I'm sorry. You must be in a difficult position. I was too rash, caring only for my own mind. My garden is completely ruined. I tended to it carefully for a long time, but the land was polluted by demonic energy, and even the vitality in the soil was depleted. Once eroded by demonic energy, it is difficult to recover even after many years. If a grand blessing prayer were held, it might purify the pollution, but because the number of priests plummeted after the war with the monsters, I cannot hope for such a miracle just for a mere garden. That is exactly why I was so eager to hear the rumors about the garden. Please forgive my lapse in communication. Roxana remained silent, her gaze fixed. The land polluted by demonic energy was known as the Forsaken Land. Land that cannot be reclaimed from the monsters is classified as a monster appearance zone, strictly forbidding anyone from entering. If the land is abandoned for 3 years, according to continental law, it will lose its owner and be officially declared forsaken. White bones scattered across the scorched earth, desolation spreading. Life went extinct, and the Forsaken Land belonged to the one who successfully purified the demonic energy. The priests who wielded the power of purification had plummeted in number, leaving vast tracts of land barren to this day. What if I could use the power of the spirits to purify the land and claim it as my own? If I personally declared sovereignty, my identity would inevitably be exposed, bringing about disaster. But what if I handed the ownership over to the Grand Duke? Torkan was once a forsaken land ravaged by rifts. The Grand Duke drove out the monsters and established a settlement. Even if the Grand Duke acquired new territory, no one would suspect a thing. If I could use this to expand Torkan's territory, it would be only natural to receive his protection. I only need him to return my family to the embrace of God. If I offer such vast lands, it should be enough to exchange for his help. However, the problem is that I do not know exactly how great the spirit's power of purification is. They can dispel demonic energy within a human body, but can they also purify the demonic energy in the land? If so, to what extent? Roxana set down her teacup, the porcelain clinking softly. I must confirm the limits of purification myself. She straightened her back and spoke. Later, may I go see your garden? The head maid was beaming with joy. Thank you very much. After I return, I will immediately issue a formal invitation. Late at night, the mansion was dimly lit. Roxana tossed and turned. In bed, perhaps I can help. Perhaps only I can do this. She gripped the edge of the blanket tightly. This might be the first step to bringing my family back. Throwing off the covers, she got out of bed and stepped into the late-night garden. The Grand Duke's garden indeed had no flowers. They had withered with the seasons. Unlike the Lily Palace, the trees here were even more rugged, even though they had also lost their leaves. The trees in the Lily Palace still held life. Even if it wasn't my intention, the garden of the Lily Palace is still full of vitality. Roxana reached out her hand, her fingertips touching the rough bark, feeling the cold trunk beneath her palm. Light quietly spread from the point of contact. Roxana closed her eyes. So, waking up this one tree shouldn't require too much power. The light grew more dazzling, wrapping around the trunk and surging upward. This tree should be able to wake up. A call came from behind. Princess. Roxana turned her head abruptly. Who would be here at this hour? I clearly checked that no one was around. She held her breath, her gaze meeting the eyes in the shadows. Floyd stepped forward. It's so late. What are you doing here? Roxana froze in place, her gaze meeting his, her breath catching instantly. Floyd tilted his head slightly, watching the startled young woman before him. Did my appearance frighten you? Training just ended, but that's why I look like this. Roxana looked up at him. Her heart throbbed beneath her skin, emitting a dull roar. She raised her hand, her fingertips hovering in midair, then extended her hand, pressing her fingertips against Floyd's chest, feeling the violent beating. Floyd looked down, his gaze softening. Princess? Roxana tilted her face up. Who are you? Is it the crazy entity residing within him? That is you. After resonating with the spirits just now, your heat is so intense, it is almost visible to the naked eye. Roxana withdrew her hand, her fingertips trembling slightly. Why are you hiding like a mouse holding its breath? The whispers of the spirits drifted in the air. That man, that is nothing but a toy. How pitiful. Is a Grand Duke just your toy? To you, is he really just a toy? Is it to torture him? Or to save him? Floyd suddenly grabbed Roxana's wrist. Roxana froze in place. What's wrong? Floyd guided her palm to rest against his chest. You look like you wanted to touch me, but were hesitating. Roxana's pupils trembled, a blush rising on her cheeks. It's not like that. She suddenly pulled her hand back, curling her fingertips. Am I crazy? Roxana, what on earth are you doing? Roxana lowered her gaze, avoiding his eyes. I am extremely sorry, Your Grace. I was just trying to speak with the entity inside you. Floyd tilted his head. What? Roxana said, I really meant it that way. How did things turn out like this? Roxana widened her eyes, her pupils reflecting the swaying greenery. It awakened. The wind blew through the woods, and the trees sprouted green buds, even if it was just on a single tiny branch. By relying on my power, I can definitely do something. Floyd turned his head. Princess? Roxana snapped back to reality, the corners of her mouth lifting. Yes, Floyd asked. You suddenly seem to be in a very good mood. Roxana explained, actually, the night breeze feels very comfortable tonight. Floyd looked at the dead branches. It's winter right now. Roxana remained silent. Now is not the time to confess. I must first restore the headmaid's garden and completely master this power. Only then can I formally propose a deal to the Grand Duke. She spoke. It's getting late. I should take my leave. Floyd watched her retreating figure, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Although I don't know what happened, I don't dislike it. Of course, Princess, if you wish, I will let you fly anywhere. But not yet. You still need this place. Torcon is the cage that protects you. When you have obtained enough shelter, I will personally open the cage door for you. The Sears County estate. The headmaid stood before the steps, her hands folded. Welcome, Roxana. Roxana stopped in her tracks. Thank you for your invitation, headmaid. The headmaid bowed slightly. It is I who should be expressing my gratitude. Please take a seat first and enjoy some tea and pastries. Roxana turned her head, her gaze sweeping over the withered branches in the distance. She looked at the deserted courtyard. I would like to go see the garden directly. She covered her mouth and nose. What exactly is this? The headmaid lowered her gaze. It's worse than expected, isn't it? The Lily Palace showed no signs of damage, but here it looks as though it was ravaged by monsters. The vegetation is scorched black to the roots. The soil is viscous and foul-smelling, emitting a rotting stench. The headmaid covered her face and sobbed. I foolishly fetched water to irrigate it, but the plants showed no signs of life, as if entangled by a curse, until I realized that even the water source was polluted. Roxana stared at the wasteland. Can I restore this? A land where not a single sign of life can be felt. It's not a question of whether I can or not. I must do it, having lost my family and been branded with a slave's mark. This broken body has nothing left but the power to control spirits. Those who pushed me into the abyss are sitting high up where I cannot reach, enjoying glory and wealth. To take the first step, I have no other choice. Roxana turned her head. Headmaid. The headmaid's body trembled. Yes, Mississippi, Roxana said. Next, some strange things might happen. No matter what you hear or see until I call you, absolutely do not come in. Roxana stood in the wasteland where dead branches lay scattered. She slowly closed her eyes. Everyone, it's time to help me. Points of light trembled violently. This place is full of pain. It is very hard for us to stay here. Roxana opened her eyes, her gaze calm. No, but I need your help. The spirits said, the earth spirits that once lived here have long departed, and even the water spirits that are no longer willing to flow here. Roxana thought, Sylph is the spirit of the air. Earth spirits are the spirits of the land, and water spirits are the source of life. So, the one talking to me now is the wind spirit, Sylph. Is it because you are afraid? Because spirits are weaker than monsters. Sylph flickered violently. That's not at all. We just don't want to face the monsters. We are not afraid. Roxana's lips curled up slightly. Did I hurt your pride? It seems I know what to do. She raised her arm. Her fingertips submerged into blinding light. Come to me. The points of light gathered and burst forth. A fierce wind whipped up her hair, and the light trembled violently. No matter what you say, we will be drawn to you, our lovely child. Roxana spread her arms. Sylph, I have a request. Summon the earth spirits and the water spirits. Sylph flew around her. I am very pleased that you already know how to use the wind, but summoning the earth and water together will place too great a burden on your body. Roxana tilted her face up. That doesn't matter. I don't care what happens to this body. No matter what, I must restore this land. Roxana turned her palms upward. The light gathered and burst into a blinding glare from her palms. A gale swept through the courtyard, and the points of light exploded. It's Sylph's wind. Someone is borrowing Sylph's power, not to summon us. The headmaid sat at the table, her hands clasped tightly together. Suddenly, she was stunned. The windows are tightly shut. Where's the wind coming from? A maid stepped forward. Madam, perhaps it's best not to go to the garden. Just smelling that stench gives you a headache. But that young lady has been out there for a long time. The headmaid remembered Roxana's words. Perhaps some strange things are happening. Until I call you, please do not approach the garden. The headmaid closed her eyes. Let's observe a little longer. I intend to trust that young lady. Roxana closed her eyes, letting the fierce wind blow her long hair. Light bloomed behind her, and points of light fell into the scorched soil. Tiny sparks of new fire lit up among the withered grass, and the darkness was torn apart by the intense light. The beams of light suddenly exploded, the earth surged, and greenery instantly covered the wasteland. Life raced wildly within the bright light. Earth spirits, expel the soil's filth. Wind spirits, purify the air. Water spirits, bless the hidden seeds. Tender shoots broke through the soil, and greenery blanketed the wasteland. Roxana tilted her face up. It's incredible. I know how to use the power of the spirits, even though I've never learned it. I can feel them. The spirits are unreservedly lending their power and even feeling joy. Thank you all. Just hold on a little longer. Please shower your power into every corner of the garden. The light swept across the archway. Roxana suddenly fell to her knees, her hands pressing into the soil as she panted heavily. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and her heart felt like it would explode. She was as exhausted as if she had run for miles. She barely propped herself up and looked at the courtyard. The dead plants cannot be resurrected, but the soil has become fertile. New shoots are breaking through the earth. The tender, The shoots are quivering. They're still too weak. Roxana reached out her hand again. Just a little more. A voice suddenly rang out. Enough. Roxana abruptly froze. That deep, resonant voice. Is it the Earth Spirit Gnome? Gnome said, it will be very dangerous to continue. Stop forcibly extracting power. Your soul. That will shatter. Roxana gripped her skirt tightly, her gaze chasing the fading spiritual light. My soul will shatter? Back when I forcibly accommodated Undine, that she said the same thing. Even if the spirits don't ask for compensation, borrowing their power, that ultimately remains a burden on the flesh or the soul. But so what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Even if my body collapses, even if my soul is worn away to nothing, as long as I can find my family's remains, as long as I can lay them to rest and take revenge on the betrayers, as long as I achieve that goal, it's not enough. That is my only reason for living. The headmaid clutched her collar tightly. Oh my God. She covered her face and sobbed. I thought I would never see greenery again. Deep down, I had already given up. To think it could still be like this. How can I ever thank you? Roxana turned her head. The dead trees haven't revived yet, and the flowers haven't bloomed. Yet she is so happy. Roxana made up her mind. I am capable of anything. Just wait for me, Lucas and Alice. A carriage stopped in front of the Emerald Palace. Servants were busy carrying luggage. Lucas said, Alice, must you go? He gripped Alice's shoulders. Going back to your territory so soon. It's truly a pity. Alice looked up. Your Highness, I also cannot bear to leave you. But if I, as the Lord, am not in my territory, how can it develop? I want to help your Highness as soon as possible. Lucas suddenly embraced her. No woman is more perfect than you. Inside the trunks are gowns and jewelry prepared for you. Wear them in your territory. And when you do, think of me. I've also prepared some capable people for you to dispatch. Alice scrutinized the attendants, her gaze stopping on the leading young man's face. He looks obedient. The attendant averted his eyes, a blush rising on his cheeks. The carriage drove into the dense forest, wheels rolling over gravel, the sound of hooves fading into the distance. Alice leaned against the carriage window, her expression calm. She placed her folded hands on her lap and lowered her head, deep in thought. With a rustle, a cloaked figure appeared inside the carriage. Alice's lips curled up. You're here. My dark mage, Retrochka. The dark mage cracked a grin, his skin full of wrinkles. The carriage traveled through the dense forest. The driver cracked his whip, the sound of hooves. Steady and heavy. The dark mage said, My lady has finally obtained what she desired. Alice gave a slight nod. It is all thanks to your suggestion. She placed a hand over her chest. Words cannot express it. Having you by my side is truly reassuring. Indeed it is. She reached out, her fingertips touching the dark mage's cheek. Retrochka, my confidant. The dark mage's body stiffened, emitting a heavy breath. My lady. Alice was breaking down inside. So disgusting. How can such a monster exist? His skin is bumpy like a toad's, his lips are swollen like a fish's, and his voice sounds like a squash frog. A maggot daring to enjoy my touch. That is still useful. I must endure. The dark mage said, if you want to completely capture the prince's heart, relying solely on beauty is far from enough. You must grasp that a power that belongs exclusively to you, my lady. Though Kintron is small, it is a vital transportation hub with immense potential. Please make it your foundation. Alice pondered. This man possesses wisdom. Most importantly, he is absolutely loyal to me. Back then, I merely pitted him for being despised by Lucas. Out of curiosity about dark mages, I bestowed a shred of that kindness, and he actually wanted to offer his everything. How laughable. Men are all the same. Alice spoke, whether ugly or not is unimportant. As long as it is useful, that is enough. So what should be our next step? Please grant me your wisdom immediately. The carriage wheels rolled over the grass, the wooden axles creaking. The dark mage said, continue to develop Kintron. Just as I suggested before, that city will soon become a source of power. Moreover, I will soon send you a gift, a truly magnificent gift. Alice's body trembled slightly, goosebumps rising all over. The dark mage's voice was hoarse. Restricted by my contract with Lucas, I cannot act personally. I will send a child to be your loyal hound. I will train him to be absolutely obedient, even if you make him crawl on his knees. Alice thought, finally, I won't have to look at this face anymore. This is wonderful. She spoke, it's truly a pity that you cannot stay by my side. The dark mage extended his withered hand and placed it over Alice's. Alice's body stiffened, the corners of her mouth. maintaining a rigid curve. The dark mage leaned down, his withered lips approaching the back of Alice's hand. One day, I will never break my promise. Sunlight bathed the courtyard, the mansion standing amidst the greenery. The head maid sighed. No matter how many times I look, it feels like a dream. The garden that was once shrouded in evil aura has actually regained its original splendor. I can't even remember how long it's been since I sat like this. Roxana looked into the distance. I have a favor to ask of you. The head maid bowed slightly. Please speak. Roxana lowered her eyes. Please keep what happened today a secret, especially from His Grace, the Grand Duke. I do not want anyone to know, at least not yet. Beads of sweat broke out on the head maid's forehead. This is absolutely no ordinary power. The power to purify demonic energy. If the temple finds out, she will be forcibly taken to the holy sanctuary, and it might even bring about fatal disaster. I absolutely cannot let such a thing happen. She said, please rest assured. My lips are sealed tight, even in front of His Grace the Grand Duke. Roxana smiled. Thank you. The head maid sat by the round table. Actually, I also have something I must confess to you. I owe you an apology, Your Highness. Do you remember that the first decree His Grace the Grand Duke issued upon arriving in Torcon? It was the abolition of slavery. The Grand Duke that held high the declaration, no one shall treat another as a plaything. Those were his exact words. I once thought that was extremely profound. Under God's love, all beings are equal. Yet deep down, I still tacitly accepted the existence of slaves. You must have noticed by now, I'm not a maid from a noble family. His Grace the Grand Duke ordered me to assign only the best maids to the Lily Palace, but I defied his will. I was even stingy about spending a single penny on you. Deep down, I felt you didn't deserve proper respect. You are clearly His Grace's honored guest, but just because you bear a slave's brand, despite my terrible treatment of you, you brought my beloved garden back to life. I feel incredibly ashamed. Please forgive my despicable behavior, Your Highness. Roxana said, you were only standing from your perspective, not doing what you believed was right. Petria, she is a kind-hearted child. If you truly wanted to mistreat me, you could have sent an incompetent servant, but instead, you left Petria by my side. Moreover, servants from noble families would never obey someone bearing a slave's brand. Your judgment was correct, madam. The head maid stared at her. I have lived for over 50 years, yet I failed to see through human nature. Just because someone bears a slave's brand, I despised such a noble soul. If only a woman like this could become my son's wife. But even if he is my son, how could such a scruffy bear be a match for her? To think I harbored such malicious thoughts toward my benefactor. Her Highness deserves an elegant man well-versed in etiquette, a man who stands beside her like a god descending to earth. A handsome man. Leather shoes stepped on the stone pavement, footsteps steady and powerful. Arson walked through the bustling market, his long hair fluttering in the wind. He carried a vegetable basket in one hand and fresh meat in the other, his gaze sharp and cold. The wolf cub lay on the grass, limbs sprawled, exposing its belly. Why hasn't it grown up yet? When the wolves here mature, they are the size of an adult woman. Even if it's young, it should have grown to the size of a hound by now. But it is still so tiny. Arson turned his head. The wolf isn't growing. You're feeding it well. It will get bigger sooner or later. If you're really worried, why not take it to the clinic for a look? The Grand Duke frowned and raised his hand, pointing forward. You say I should take it to the clinic out of worry? You just want to find an excuse to raise it yourself. That wolf is under Her Highness, the princess's jurisdiction. If you want to examine it, you must. But go ask her personally. Arson curled his lip, looking displeased. Why should I bow my head to a woman who is a slave? I am well-versed in canine knowledge and merely want to confirm its condition. That is why I took this piece of meat from the kitchen. If I find any symptoms of illness, I will take it to the clinic in the city. This is absolutely not a kidnapping.